Alright, what's up, boys? I am back at it again. We're doing some, Trump news. I guess we'll look at the clips of this correspondent. He was like talking shit, about the media. So we'll look at that. We'll look at, some stuff that he was talking earlier today. So we'll look at all of that. Then, we'll look at Fox's articles. Then we'll look at Fox's videos, and also the one I'm waiting for. And I'm looking, my mustache is all fucking crooked. What I'm looking for to watch, we are gonna watch Nick Fuentes and Hunter Biden interview. It just came out today. I can't fucking wait to watch it. Oh my god, the fucking crackhead degenerate versus fucking Nick Fuentes. Oh man, that's gonna be fun to watch, man. So we're gonna watch that. We're gonna get straight into it because that interview is pretty long. It's like basically, it's almost 2 hours. So I want to get into everything today. So let's get straight into it. So we're just gonna go with the clips. We're gonna look at the clips. We're gonna get straight into it and all that stuff. So I guess we'll look at the Fox News.
Attention to, and this is somewhat of a scoop. My intention to run for a fourth term as president of the United States.
He's fucking around.
I will be doing that. I will be having an official. In fact, I think I have.
He's fucking around, guys. He's definitely the baiter. He's the baiter in
Now I'm
chief,
going to do it
man.
again.
Oh my god, he's such a baiter, my god.
Thank you.
Dude,
I'm going to do it. Should be easy. I'm getting very good at running for president. No, I won 3 times. Did very well the second time, by the way. Rigged election, but we don't have to talk about it.
Oh my god. He's definitely the baiter in fucking chief. I give him that, but he's good at fucking baiting the media. They're like, oh no! Look at that. Bro. I don't know, man. It's just Trump being Trump. What can I say?
Press here in one place. I have to say that we're having an amazing load of accomplishments that the media never talks about. For example, under my administration, a once feared and powerful regime that relentlessly attacked America has finally been toppled. Their former leaders have been removed, and they're now being run by a gay dictator facing internal divisions. But I, for one, wish Barry Weiss all the best at CBS News. She's a wonderful woman. Well, I have all.
I don't know, man. It's basically this correspondent there. Obviously, you guys remember he was originally supposed to do this back in April. We all know what happened. Obviously, somebody came inside, into the hotel where they're having this, and they basically try to shoot up the place, and they had to reschedule this. It's basically all the media shows up. They crack jokes, and Trump's just basically just talking shit. So basically, just a normal Trump speech, him talking shit. Basically, he's basically fucking unscripted, like he normally is, but even more unscripted. That's basically what it is.
Enabling wildfires, paying drug addicts to be homeless, giving free sex changes to illegals, and telling rich people they're going to take away, all of your money is going to be taken away. People are fleeing, and they're fleeing in droves. We can't have that in this country. It's becoming such a horrible and dangerous location that Ilhan Omar, one of my favorites, and her brother are thinking about moving together, very much in love. A video has surfaced recently of Ilhan giving a speech referring to World War II as World War 11.
She did say that. She is a fucking lie.
They asked her about that. She thought she got it right.
Yeah,
but I'm not surprised.
She's
a low IQ person.
She is a low IQ.
And she's also a very dishonest person.
That's true.
She ought to get the hell out of our country. She shouldn't be here. She shouldn't be in our country.
She's an ugly pig.
She also calls her brother husband number one.
She's an ugly
Omar is
stinky
reportedly
pig.
being investigated for fraud. She revised her net worth. I was shocked to see that she was worth much more than $30 million. And then when the press got on her, she revised it slightly downward to less than 18,000. So she went from much more than 30 million to 18,000.
Elon Musk is a fucking corrupt piece of shit. She is. I don't know why people like that fraudster. She's just a corrupt fuck. And she did call World War 11. Did you guys know that we fought 11 world wars? Did you guys know that? I don't know if you guys knew that. I guess we're counting Afghanistan, World War like 5. So we're counting. I guess we're counting. Trying to think. I guess we're counting North Korea as World War 3. North Korea as World War 3. We're counting Vietnam as World War 4. We're counting the Gulf War as World War 5. I guess you can count the Cold War as World War 5. The Gulf War, World War 6. I guess we're counting Afghanistan, World War 7. We're counting Iraq, World War 8, and war excursions within Syria, and Libya. So the World Wars, World War 11, guys. I guess so.
That at least one or two potential presidential hopefuls attend the correspondence dinner, but many of them seem to have really chickened out. I was disappointed that Gavin Newsom didn't show up. He didn't show up. He should be here. But I heard that he recently said that we will lose our country if we don't fight fire with fire. And to be fair, there's only one thing we know about Gavin, and that's that he definitely doesn't want to fight fire with water. He's got a lot of water, never uses. What a disaster. That should have never happened.
Gavin Newsom is a fucking retard. He literally said that, I can't read. He basically said, you and me and black people have something going. We both can't read. We can't read either. We're both very illiterate. He basically called black people illiterate, basically. He said that they're very stupid. But Gavin Newsom is such a shit governor that his city's always his state's always like a dumpster fire, man. I don't know how this guy's actually going to run for president. Did you guys see that AOC is currently the lead leader of the Democrat parties? AOC with 22%, Pete Buttigieg 21%. Then it's like Mark Kelly, then it's Gavin Newsom, then it's Bernie, then it's Kamala last. So those are the candidates, man. Democrat Party. It's a great bunch. Shit bunch.
I personally congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on receiving her award. It's all about me. It's a fake. She shouldn't get the award. It was a fake, but I didn't mind. I said, Caitlin, congratulations. But it was fake. There's no question about it. But she's a young, attractive woman. She never smiles. I said, Caitlin, do you ever smile? Smile. You have a nice position. You're at CNN Fake News.
Oh my God.
You should be a happy person. So smile, Caitlin. Just smile. But we attack, and I thought Caitlin had really made it big with a major new sponsorship. But then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney cost Bud Light $35 billion in market cap.
Dude.
That was the worst commercial ever made, by the way, for those few people that want to hear that. Most people don't care, but I would. I wouldn't want to hire Dylan anytime soon.
Oh, I can't believe he's saying this right in front of her. She said it right to her fucking face, dude. Oh my God, she's saying it. He said it right to her, man. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I did not to have a comedian, so they considered using Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. These guys, they're terrible. They're terrible. Stephen Colbert. These are people without talent. They get a lot. They have talent. You know who has talent? Their agent getting them the money they get. They have no talent. but they are not comedians. They're not funny people. They're angry people. They're sick people. But the association really put on a big show, and they have somebody very special. I look forward to seeing them. And so they thought about going with a professional clown for entertainment, but Adam Shifty Schiff was not available. You know, he's known. I called him. I hate some people. You know, I shouldn't say this. I'm not supposed to hate. I'm supposed to love everybody. But he's a terrible person. He's a liar. And I called him Watermelon Head because he has the largest head I've ever seen with the smallest neck, pencil neck. How does that big, fat, ugly head stand on a little pencil neck? And then I'm told that even Rosie O'Donnell reached out from Ireland. She really wanted to be here in order to honor me. She loves me very much. And she was desperate to come back to the United States and pay her respect to Donald J. Trump. But that didn't work out, unfortunately, because nobody wanted her to come back. But she's one of the greatest sufferers of Trump derangement syndrome. She's a sick young woman, sick older woman, I guess.
Oh my God. It's just talking shit. It's just.
Oh, it's amazing how things work out. He actually showed a picture of the White House with a big Trump on top. Like I put a sign, and you know, I'm sort of doing that when you think about it, right? I mean, and Obama was.
Oh my God. Why do you keep watching more of this bullshit? Oh my God. Dude. Jesus Christ. Alright, that was fine. That was fine. You know, we want to have some more fun. Let's get to the seriousness now. There's like
major strikes that you're referring to. Okay. Should we expect to see major strikes?
Look, we're talking to them right now. I think they're getting more and more serious as the days go by, for maybe the obvious reason. But we are talking to them right now. Look, there are two ways. I consider that the smarter way, but the other is probably the easier way, doing what we're doing. And we can take that to a much higher level if we want to. You know, we're prepared to do that. As you know, we're locked and loaded. We're locked and loaded and ready to go, but we're talking to them. So I think while we're talking, we'll see what comes of it. I believe, Jeff, they're very serious. They should be.
And when you say you're talking, is it Mr. Kushner or Mr. Witkoff, or who's involved in that?
Sort of everybody, JD and Marco, and a lot of people talking. A lot of people to talk to. It's a big deal. But really, when you get right down to it, it's not very complex. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple, actually. It's a big deal. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they have even the thought of a nuclear weapon, we will just continue to go at much higher levels. But we are talking right now, and we'll see what comes out. Despite what everyone says about the election, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. We have to do it right. Elections take care of themselves. When I went into Venezuela, everybody was against it. Oh, what are you doing going into Venezuela? And then 2 days later, they said, well, it's fantastic. A lot of people are saying that with Iran already, because it would take them 25 years to rebuild already from what they have. And again, as you know, no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft, no radar, no nothing. And then we, as you know, we just reinstituted I guess you could I call it the iron wall on the water. Nothing gets through. Nothing. Blockade. Nothing gets through. And they sort of have to make a deal. But we are talking to them. I think they're being serious. I think they are being by far the most serious that we've seen them. But that doesn't mean we get there. We'll see what happens. But I always prefer that alternative.
Well, you made big major strikes. You probably will eventually. You know, he changes. The problem is he changes his mind way too fucking much. You know, like one day he says I'm gonna do a major attack, and then he cancels it, then I'm gonna start talking to them. Then that doesn't go well. He's back to attack it. I don't know what he's gonna fucking do. I have no idea. What is this?
After people that are cowards, people that are unpatriotic, people that are treasonous in many cases.
Talking shit.
And the way you find them is through the journalists, when the journalists probably know they shouldn't, right? They shouldn't be giving information out like that particular information or others. We had a lot of, look at the Supreme Court where they leaked the opinion of Roe v. Wade early. That person should be found. And the way you find them is to tell the journalist, if it's something having to do with national security, you tell the journalist, who is it? And we have a long way to go with that case. We're not after journalists.
Just in talking shit. Okay, that's enough of looking at that. Alright, we're kind of on the time schedule, so I want to look at the Nick Fuentes and Hunter Biden interview. So we're gonna go, straight into the Fox News articles. Sorry, I kind of got distracted. We'll come back. Okay, minus correspondent things. It's just, I don't know what that was. He was just talking shit. He does. So it's just, I don't know, man. Alright. I'm not gonna look at that. So basically, he called Jimmy Brisker fat, a fat pig. He called, Caleb calls it like Bud Light trans and all that stuff. So Trump orders signs outside the Smithsonian Museum mid-row over it's the deception of American history. So Trump's order targets federal sidewalks outside the Smithsonian to sign tricking visitors to visit White House Recording Museum. Let's about the Saudi Arabia agreement. This is actually important shit, not that other stuff. President Trump said on Friday that Saudi Arabia will have to join the Abraham Accords before the moves forward with the civilian nuclear agreement, saying that the requirement had always been understood during negotiations. That's why he appears at a new condition after Energy Secretary Chris Wright announced progress on the Saudi nuclear deal with Trump. Rejected suggestion that anyone has got ahead of him. No, nobody. I mean, I just say that in order to do it, they have to be a member of the Abraham Accords, which have been very successful, but it's time now that they do it, Trump said. Later, when he asked whether he had authorized Wright to sign the agreement, Trump maintained the condition was never in doubt. We didn't talk about it, but it was always understood, and Chris knew it. Saudi Arabia knew that if they joined Abraham Accords, the deal is not. I'm not going to do the deal. Trump said. When a reporter followed up by asking Wright sign it. The agreement, if that the condition remained, Trump said that any dealers would still have to clear Congress and would not move forward unless Saudi Arabia joined the Accords, because they understood that subject to Congress and everything else in order for that deal to go through. Let me go change my soul. So I'm going to change my soul. Sorry, I didn't change my soul. They had to sign it to the Abraham Accords. Trump said we think the Abraham Accords bring peace and alliance. Trump argued that regional security landscape had shifted after Iran's military capabilities were significantly weakened. There's no other Iran factor. There's no other Iran to worry about because they've been reduced in terms of their capability and power by manifold, Trump said. Trump also emphasized that the agreement with Saudi Arabia would be limited to civilian nuclear energy. They'll join, they'll do their civil. It's a civil nuclear, but that is what it is. No, rich man, it's silver nuclear, Trump said. The remarks during the Oval Office have been celebrating what the administration describes as a milestone for advancing nuclear energy after four private reactor companies met Trump's goal of bringing new records to sign online 4th of July to defend Trump at all. What he calls historic milestone for civilian nuclear energy and renaissance of nuclear powered America. Just give me a second, then I'll comment on that. Just give me a second. I'm gonna just let me do this real quick. Then I'm gonna comment on it off the stage. Just give you guys my opinion. I'm still skeptical about it. I hope that the nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia will work out and they do join Abraham. Of course, it'd be nice if it would be nice if all the all the Middle East joined the Abraham Accords and we have peace in that region. But I don't know, man. I'm just kind of skeptical if country release having nuclear weapons, man. I just don't trust them. With that issue, that reach all the fighting that they've done over, for centuries, and all the, a lot of the big, terrorist attacks have came from the Middle East. I know we've been a lot more friendly with Saudi Arabia since Trump's been president, back from his first term. But Saudi Arabia, they killed a journalist during Trump's first term. I don't know. I'm so skeptical about it. I have to wait and see what's gonna do or anything like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of really just skeptical if it's gonna work out or anything like that. I just don't really trust the track record of the Middle East, man. The Middle East got a really bad track record, So yeah, it's just my opinion. Republicans target Trump's crypto empire with a new plan. Dems say it falls short. We go look at this. Why not? Senate Republicans want to rein in President Trump's income explosion since return to the White House.
Get the mattress that finally helps you sleep at NFM.
On how they're going to do it, the Senate cost of moving landmark in cryptocurrency legislation known as the Clarity Act. That if it passed, proponents say it would finally fold the novel currency into the nation's web of financial regulation. Tucked away in over 600-page package are slate of ethics provisions that target the Trump, the vice president, and their spouses. The White House signed off on the provisions in art attacks of the bill, saying the restrictions reach beyond just Trump and targeted lawmakers too. For now, it's not enough for Senate Democrats. Someone can call it ethics provision. Senator Elizabeth Warren said, but if it doesn't stop the president from profiting off of crypto and using to take bribes right out in public, then it's not really expansion. Extradition, man. The list of guardrails include preventing federal officials from creating their own digital currency for profit or endorsing crypto trading, like fashions of blind trust required 1 year after it enacted, allowing officials to own crypto in disclosure of crypto sales. Senator Cienfa Lewis from Wyoming, Republican from Wyoming, who also has led the effort of the Clarity Act, told Fox's Maria Bartiromo that the idea isn't to plan legislation around one person who holds one office for the next 2 years, but rather over time this will strictly white out the House, Senate, and the judiciary and the executive branch in a fair way. The struggle, of course, is a lot of Democrats are also focused on one person, and that's President Trump. Lucas said that is true. Since President Trump actually agreed that he would have the choice to either put his assets in a blind trust or diversify of his participation in digital assets and companies to derive revenue from digital assets, Somehow that's not enough. There are gripes with the package, but the ethics provisions are providing a sharp red line. That's because Trump's income from 2024 in 2025 erupted by 250%, just over from 620 million to 2.2 billion. Jesus Christ! And much of that increases in attribute to his various holdings of ventures in crypto, which are run by his sons Don Jr. and Eric, according to the president's financial disclosure forms by Fox News. Trump's income shot by 1.4 billion in his first year in office. Jesus Christ! Thanks to the earnings from the Trump meme coin, world-losing financial token sales, and stablecoin holdco, among others, Senator Bernie Moreno, Republican out of Ohio, who, alongside Senator CF Loomis, worked with the White House to draft epic provisions, said that the behavior that was being targeted with issuance in promoting sponsorship of crypto. Again, it's a very different scenario that Nancy Pelosi was held to, Marino said. When asked about Democrats already raising issues with the provisions, Marino told Fox that they're always obsessed with putting things in the base bill, offered an amendment. Democrats have noted that the ethics provisions don't specifically target his sons, meaning that the Trump family crypto empire, which is heavily benefited from his name and time in office, would be largely unchecked. They also put sole enforcement power in the hands of acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, a close ally of Trump, and are set to sunset on January 20th, 2029, when Trump will have to leave office. Senator Cory Booker told Fox Digital that he still has a lot of his ethics concerns. There's still work to do. This is a partisan draft. It's very obvious, not going anywhere.
By the Dallas Cowboys team. It's more like a 5. Okay?
If there's a one way, bad way to do this, it's doing in a bipartisan manner. There are enough of us on both sides of the aisle that we should be able to land this in good faith negotiations. The objectives to the bill for now appear to be slow, and it's rolling through the Senate as the upper chambers sprints to a month-long break in August. It deals with a shrinking window of opportunity to finish legislation before the year is out. Senate Majority Leader John Thune I hope that they clear act on the floor next week, but acknowledge that might not be possible. I don't think we will get it done. I would like to get at least the clarity started, he said. I agree. There needs to be a fucking insider structuring bill to be passing itself. So, because I don't think any members of Congress, any members of the Senate, anybody in the fucking White House, and especially the fucking president, should not be making money while they're in office. It's bullshit. It's corrupt. If they want to do it while they're out of office, that's them, you know. But Trump shouldn't be doing any fucking meme coins. Shouldn't be doing any crypto pump and dump scams. You know, he shouldn't be getting any money from countries like millions like Qatar. You know, legit gave $100 million into his cryptocurrency before he took office. You know, he should be getting free, like, fucking $400 million, jet from, Qatar. His sons, should not be giving Trump money from his crypto business while Trump's in office. And then his money comes in the Senate, should not be making money while they're in office. It's fucking corrupt. Well, the problem is the Democrats are only focused on fucking Trump. Dude, their side does inside trading. Nancy Pelosi, he's literally the queen of inside stock trading. They all do it. She does it too. She's a hypocrite. What's the woman who does inside stock trading? She's made over millions of fucking dollars. All of them do. It's just bullshit, man. So I hope something will get done on that, but I highly doubt. They're so fucking weak that nothing will probably get done.
It's not what you're supposed to be doing when you're installing a stream in Blitz Zero. Gino looked up and all of a sudden, 7 from 11 was sitting in his lap.
They know to visit Trump at the White House. Attend the dear friend Links Grant's memorial service. Okay. That's I don't care about that shit. Trump says Iran will pay what it takes and the war remains. Okay, let's go look at this.
Played championship type football. What I've been asking him to do against a solid team, not the best team. But a solid team.
Nearly 5 months after launching a sweeping campaign against Iran's nuclear missile naval processing capabilities, the Trump administration is now trying to reopen Strait of Hormuz, while negotiators have yet to reduce a permanent settlement. The administration says its renewed strikes have a clear imminent objective of making Iran pay. Less clear is what Iran must do to end these strikes, or what conditions would the U.S. to step back from growing a military commitment in the region. President Trump has threatened to expand the campaign to Iran's nuclear sites, bridges, power plants, and other infrastructure. In response to questioning on the goals in Iran, a U.S. official said, "Right now, the president is focused on making Iran pay for violations of the MOU and their continued acts of terrorism in the Strait of Hormuz," referring to the memorandum of understanding between Iran and the United States. In addition, the president will make Iran pay for the recent U.S. deaths of U.S. soldiers, and officials said. The devastating blows will continue until the president deems otherwise, but talks between our countries are continuing, the officials said. President Trump has also has all the cards. I'm sorry, was it also? I'm sorry. In all her options at its disposal, and Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. The response is defined the immediate campaign as punishment for Iran's actions, but did not identify any conditions Iran could meet all these strikes beyond Trump sign that the punishment had been sufficient. Follow-up question by Fox News went unanswered. When Trump launched his military Operation Epic Fury mission on February 28th, the White House laid out the full shipment checks to prevent Iran from obtaining a weapon. Destroying mostly missiles, production capability, uniting its navy, and serving its supports for terrorist proxies.
Yes. Was Dallas lucky last night? There were a couple of calls that even I thought as a Cowboy. Yeah, I'm like, that's not pass interference, right?
The administration declared those military objectives achieved in April, but Iran retained enough capability to concentrate on Hormuz, attack commercial shipping, and target U.S. forces and allies across the region. The administration immediate focus is now on the Strait. U.S. Central Command said Thursday that its latest strikes target Iranian maritime capabilities, closest surveillance sites, air defense and missiles, and drone facilities to degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial vessels. Secretary of State Marco Rubio named the current campaign as an effort to prevent Iran from establishing a dangerous precedent but control the international waterway while maintaining that Washington remains open to diplomacy. He said Iran must stop attacking commercial ships and reopen the strait before the United States changes its behavior. Their behavior has to change in order for ours to change, Rubio said Sunday. Yet recent strikes have expanded beyond Iran's maritime capabilities to include bridges and other infrastructures as Trump continues threaten nuclear facilities, raising new questions and how the Wayne target sets its fits in the administration's broader strategy. Meanwhile, the final nuclear agreement advised under the June Memorandum of Understanding has not materialized. Even as the White House says talks between Washington and Iran are continuing, the memorandum had the invasion agreement within 60 days, but renewed finance left the timing perspectives uncertain. Trump has continued to frame Iran's nuclear infrastructure, including the deeply burdened Pixar Mount facility, but he has also appeared softened on one of the administration's original demands, saying in June that Iran could using some ballistic missiles in proportion to neighboring countries. The administration has not clarified whether the original missile objective, which was achieved, realized as a part of negotiations or remains part of a future settlement, nor whether ended Iran's support for proxies remain a condition for victory. Publicly, the renewed campaigns has a clear, immediate military task, protecting shipping and preventing Iran from asserting control rumors. But the connection between the mission, the stalled nuclear process, and Trump's threat to winding war remains unexplained. 18 U.S. servicemen have been killed since the war begun. While Secretary of War Pete Hegseth told lawmakers Tuesday that the campaign has cost an estimated $37.5 billion. Retired Air Force Brig General Robert Spalding, a senior fellow at the Huntsville Institute conservative think tank, who served as a senior strategy official in the first Trump White House, argued that the campaign can be understood around on overriding objective. I think the end goal is to prevent the nuclear weapon. Spalding told Fox News that the goal is very clear: is how do you want to go about getting those goals, and then what are you willing to pay to achieve them? That's the decision that has to be made. On the Hormuz, Spalding predicted that the protecting commercial shipping could require a prolonged U.S. presence. Comparing his operations north and southern watch, the year-long U.S.-led force of no-fly zones over Iran. I don't think that we're leaving the area anytime soon, Spalding said. He described the potential missions as almost an airport seaboard occupation of the Strait in the Gulf, intended to serve the free flow of international shipping. Such a mission could given the current strikes a defined military purpose, but would not necessarily resolve the nuclear negotiations, eliminate Iran's remaining leverage, or produce a political settlement. It could said leave Americans forces enforcing access to Hormuz for an extended period while the broader conflict remains unsolved. Al-Faz, Iran project director at the International Crisis Group, said the administration changed in public emphasized to replace the absence of a coherent strategy connecting its military action and achievable end state. The administration does not seem to have a clear strategy. Fios told Fox News it's been moving goalposts. Fios also argued that the conflict has given Iran a potential new form of leverage, the demonstrated ability to choke shipping for Hormuz and impose economic pain on the United States. He describes Iran's control of the Strait as a weapons of mass destruction. For more than 4 decades, the United States has been able to co-steer on the Iranian regime economically. He said the Iranians never had the possibility of retaliating and kind of putting pressure on a pocketbook of every American citizen. The U.S. now is trying to inflict enough pain that pains its sense on controlling the Strait, according to Fios. But Iran views that the control as its most vulnerable remains source of leverage, and one it cannot surrender without weakening its position in any future negotiations, he argued. We have zero-sum situation feeling that the U.S. is trying to remove a tool of leverage from the hands of the Iranians. That they believe is essential to their survival. Although the United States retains overwhelmingly military superiority, PLS has argued that neither side has been able to deliver a decisive blow. Washington can continue inflicting damage instead. Well, Tehran has a greater willingness to absorb it because it views the economic conflict as a struggle for the regime's survival. There is no military solution to resolve the problem in the Straits. Fiala said, after much more definite destruction, I think both sides would return to the same logic that led them to agree to the MOU in the first place, which is that neither side is really able to deliver a knockout blow to the other. Wow, that was kind of a long one. Yeah. We have to wait and see. We have to wait and see if we're gonna do like a big major attack on their on their bridges and their water supplies and their power plants. We have to wait and see. Trump's threatened that many times, but he's never fell through. We have attacked some bridges, but not really enough to do major impact. The Strait, obviously, sadly, still, in the hands of the Iranians, they can, still, dictate tolls, and they can, charge fees. They basically now kind of close it when they feel like it. Also, they're, getting, the Houthis to basically tag team with them to, block, the Red Sea. We have to wait and see what happens. I know that, Congress is trying to basically, block, Trump doing more military action against. Been multiple times that they've tried that. Yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see, what's gonna happen, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if we're gonna do full ground war. I don't know if we're gonna try the peace route. We tried to do ceasefires, never really worked out. Iran's never really agreed to our demands, and we never really agreed to Iran's demands. They don't want to give up their nuclear capabilities. We don't basically want Iran to charge tolls on the Strait Hormuz. They get to control. We don't want that. So, and also, I think there's some people in the administration, want, Trump to just basically wipe out the entire machine, wipe out the new Ayatollah leader, wipe out the entire IRGC and all the, all the Ayatollah people. Will he wipe them out? It's going to take a long time. As long as they're hiding in fucking bunkers. The new Ayatollah, it's been hiding in a bunker since March. Probably same with the RGC. They're all hiding in bunkers. Osama bin Laden was hiding in a fucking cave for almost 10 years. So, it took us 10 years to find Osama bin Laden. He was hiding in a cave, So, we just have to wait and see what happens, with Iran. So, we have to. Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed accused Trump of inciting terrorism over Whitmer kidnapping plot. I don't even care about that. It's just stupid. Trying to see what else.
That's a $30 million receiver. What do you mean?
Okay, that's all from yesterday. See, here's not we're just getting straight into the Fox News videos and we're watching the fuentes. Hunter Biden interview. We go look at this. This is midterm stuff. So, Graham Whitner, is the governor of Michigan. He's endorsing, Haley Stevens. So he's trying to keep her, her Senate seat, in the Senate. she's trying to, basically, keep her seat from Abdul Syed. So let's go read the article. Michigan Governor Richard Whitmer on Friday endorsed Representative Haley Stevens. Oh, she's in Congress. I'm stupid. She's in Congress trying to, run for Senate. I thought she was in the Senate, or I'm sorry. Representative Haley Stevens, head of the state's U.S. Senate Democrat primary. Stevens said more centrist and progressive Abdul El Sayed are considered the front runners in the race as early voting starts on Saturday. Whitmer's endorsement could give Stevens a boost in a state where the governor twice won by considerable margins. The governor also beat Al Sayed in the Democratic primary. The governor is 22. Yeah, this guy ran for governor back in 2018. So he's basically kind of like Beto O'Rourke, ran for, Senate here in Texas where I live. He ran for like governor, and he ran for president. So it's basically just him. Winter told supporters at a Teamsters Hall in Detroit on Friday that Stevens has what it takes to win, while appeared with her South Carolina representative Jim Clyburn. Michiganders need a fighter in Washington. There are a few leaders with more fight in them than Haley Stevens, Whitmer said at the event. Stevens, who flipped a Republican House seat in 2018, is also backed by Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer and Michigan Senator Gary Peters, a two-term Democrat who's retiring from the seat. I guess she's basically, trying to replace him. Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative AOC are backing Al Sayed. They're all tankies. They all believe the same shit. They're all, that's just what tankies do. Sorry. The corporate establishment has closed ranks and made their picks, and now Michigan voters will get to make theirs. Roxy Witchner, a spokesperson for Al Sayed, told Associated Press. Michigan's Democrat primary is on August 4th. Well, that's coming up in 10 days. And the winner will face a Republican former Representative Mike Rogers in November. Democrats want to flip the U.S. Senate from a narrow Republican control and must hold Michigan to do so. Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting. I know there's been like criticism of officers, been like a lot of criticism of Abdul Al Sayed. As you know, he's a fake doctor, and he's like a fucking hypocrite. This guy complains for the 1%, but he's actually in the 1% tax bracket. He's got 2 real estate properties. He doesn't believe in private property, but he got 2 private properties, my man. He's kind of like downplaying Islamic terrorism. He's kind of like he's downplaying 9/11. Wouldn't be surprised. He's been campaigning with his son. Hassan's got like a shit ton of baggage. And also, Haley Stevens has been heavily criticized because, the far left are going to say she's too pro-Israel. She wants to give Israel more money. She's just like this, the corrupt establishment and all that. I don't really know a lot about Haley Stevenson. But she's definitely out of the 2. The lesser 2 evils is definitely Haley Stevens. I don't care about Haley Stevens. I don't live in Michigan. But if you wanted like a normal, say, like Democrat to be the Senate, Michigan, you would choose Haley Stevens over Abdul Syed. We have to wait. I know like Abdul Syed is currently, beating her in the for the Democrat primary, but he's like losing like Mike Rogers. So hope the Republicans can keep it, conservative, in Michigan. I don't want this fucking idiot to be in the Senate. He's just like he's just a dumb, crazy retard. So, there's like nothing on that. If there's not like a lot on these articles on the left, we're gonna get straight into the Fox News videos and watch like Freedom, get to like the, get into the, Hunter Biden and Nick Fuentes interview. So I can't wait to watch that.
called
I
you on
can't
that.
stand you.
It's just,
I can't.
um,
I don't have a problem.
Trump says the Saudi Arabia neutral deal hinges on joining every world's experts to debate whether Israel face isolation or expanded ties. There's nothing really on here to like look at on the articles. You know, we get a couple of articles. Oh shit! I didn't mean to do that. Oops, I did not mean to do that, my boys.
I love this thing. There's no way you're going deep.
All right, we're on Google, correct? All right, we're on Google. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. All right, we're gonna go. We're gonna go watch Fox News videos. We'll watch like 3. We're getting to them. We're getting to them like a little bit earlier because I want to get into. We're gonna watch this. It's like almost 2 hours. I have it saved. You know, I have it saved to watch later. So we're gonna watch 3 Fox News videos. Then we're gonna get into that one. I cannot wait to watch it, man. It's gonna be funny as shit. So. First,
so I'm saying I believe
okay.
was a little tight. So that's not a true barometer of where Philly is. And I believe it.
All right, this is about the Iran war. Sorry, they've been posting like a lot about the Iran war. I just want to like keep you guys updated.
The Iran conflict could be on the brink of a dramatic change. President Trump reportedly close to a decision on what he calls a massive attack. He's also set to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu next Tuesday at the White House. And that meeting could help shape what comes next. The United States now has launched strikes on the radical Islamic regime of Iran, military targets, and 13 straight nights of it, and other strategic points there.
Shit.
I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Earlier today, U.S.-led forces shot down 5 explosive drones over Erbil. That's near an airport base that hosts American troops. Witnesses are reporting at least 7 explosions, several plumes of black smoke. Local security officials reporting no one was
Dude, they're
killed
attacking Iraq
no
now.
damage
Jesus
to
Christ, what is
mention,
wrong with
and
them?
there is no
I
evidence
just
the
can't
base
believe we
itself was
slide
hit.
bases
The
in
incident
fucking-
raises fresh
in
concerns
fucking
for U.S.
Iraq.
forces in the
You know,
region.
we have
And the United States is rapidly
done since
degrading Iran's military
2011.
capabilities, but there is
Dude,
new
get these
evidence.
fucking bases out of the Middle
The
East, man.
radical Islamic regime is
Oh my
rebuilding
God.
at remarkable speed.
It's
The satellite
so
image that you
ridiculous,
see
man.
on the
It
left
really
side of your
fucking
screen
is.
shows damage from our strikes to tunnel entrances and an access road at a missile base in northwestern Iran. Now look at the picture on the right, that satellite image on the right of your
Jesus,
screen.
is that what's been
This is
destroyed?
just a few weeks later, showing a newly paved road and
is
freshly
that new?
excavated entrances. Those rapid repairs are helping Iran stay in the
Wait,
fight. But look,
so this
we
was
have been at
destroyed
war
since March,
for
and this has
really
been rebuilt.
fewer days than they were in that
Jesus, they already
ceasefire.
rebuilt that?
I mean, if you take the 145 days or so of war, at least 130
Wow,
of them
they've already
have been
rebuilt
during the
that?
ceasefire. What do you think that they were going to do with the ceasefire? That's what they've been doing, gearing up, because fighting is their identity. Here's Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane.
As we speak right now, the Iranians are talking about negotiating again. And so that choice is available to us. We can go back and negotiate and kick the can down the road and see if we can get a better deal. But I think where the president is, he sees them for what they really are. Look, if this regime hasn't changed, truth be known, in 47 years. The same ideology, different people. So the choice going forward is, do we fix this regime and shut down their behavior once and for all?
Access to the important shipping, oil shipping lane, Strait of Hormuz, at the heart of the conflict right now. President Trump posted until further notice that from this point forth, any and all damages done to ships, cargo, or anything related thereto will be paid for by Iranian money that the United States has in its possession and controls. Lieutenant General Karen Gibson is with me in focus today. First, I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Peter Doocy, at the White House. Peter.
Harris, President Trump doesn't think the Iranians are getting it, that trying to restart their nuclear program, trying to take over the Strait of Hormuz, moves is only going to make him more angry, and that is why peace talks are off indefinitely.
We're doing very well against the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're doing extremely well. They would like to do something, but I say they're not ready yet. They need more of the same. They're not ready yet. They got some evil intentions. We cannot let them have a nuclear weapon.
The president is telling Axios about Iran. I'm considering a massive attack, bigger than ever before. I'm close to making
Bro, he's been saying it since April. He's never done that. He says it so many times. He says it so many times, and he changes how things make his deals, and he changes out of that. And he just never makes up his fucking mind.
I think I saw, guys, I saw Arachi, the foreign minister, who the other day say something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye.
And President Trump has never liked suggestions that early on in this campaign he was pushed towards the war by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We have just learned that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to come meet with the president this week when he is in town for Lindsey Graham's funeral. What impact, if any, that has on the president's decision to order possibly the biggest strike against Iran ever remains to be seen. But we'll know on Tuesday.
Yeah, and the backdrop, too, here in New York City, by the way, is Mayor Mamdani, who's been throwing out all those threats that Netanyahu should be arrested when he gets here in September for the General Assembly at the UN. But now he's coming sooner than that. The president has already said that Mamdani, and I'm paraphrasing, is ridiculous to say that. And of course, he doesn't have the authority to arrest Prime Minister of Israel. I'm just adding that in. Peter, thank you very much.
Things are going so well with Trump and Mamdani.
All right, I'm glad you always get the last word. It's always the best time. Thank you, Peter. All right, in focus, Lieutenant General Karen Gibson, former CITCOM intelligence director and active duty U.S. Army intelligence officer for 33 years. First of all, thank you for your great service to our nation, and I'm so glad you're here today. Look, I made some notes for our conversation. I'm going to look down. So it looks like Iran is trying to open up a new front in the war. They may have done that, having to do with yet another oil shipping lane and the terrorists that they pay inside Yemen. Your take on it?
Well, the Houthis are certainly an Iranian proxy. They're not an Iranian puppet. They willingly take considerable financing and lethal, sophisticated weapons from Iran, but not always instructions. And so I would kind of differentiate this. Certainly there have been opportunities for the Houthis to get engaged from day one, but they remain an independent actor who make decisions based on their own interests. And I believe this current spat or the action they've taken in the Bab el-Mandeb is related to a feud they have with Saudi Arabia. Now, it increases Iran's leverage in the Straits of Hormuz because it makes it that much more valuable. But I'm pretty sure they are taking this action of their own accord, even though it does support Iran's broader aims.
Talking about the money that flows to these groups from Iran, what can you tell us about that? Because I understand perhaps the independence with motive, but they can't be financially independent that way because it costs money to do what they're doing.
Certainly, but they do control, some part of Yemen, the territory of Yemen. So they have their own. They're not wealthy, but they do have an ability to tax the populace, etc. I think what's as important as the money, though, and the provision of advanced, sophisticated, lethal weaponry. They can produce things indigenously, and the Iranians have trained them to do that, but not precision-guided munitions, not some of the navigational, the navigation of the missile itself. That has come to them, that technology from Iran. And I think that's actually the most dangerous aspect of the aid from the IRGC.
That's critically important information. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General. I'm glad you went there. Let's talk a little bit about what it takes, not just with the terrorists in Yemen, but you've got Hezbollah, you've got the president having met in recent days with the president of Lebanon. And the way that you just described the Houthis sounds a little bit like maybe a smaller version of Hezbollah, controlling a certain section, a southern section of a different nation.
It's true. I mean, it's inherently Lebanese entity who is sworn as part of their manifesto to the destruction of the state of Israel. Another distinction I'd make there, the Houthis have not always been aligned with Iran, but the Lebanese Hezbollah has, and there is a much closer linkage there. But they also, particularly under Nasrallah, who was killed by the Israelis, I believe that was last year, he did not see himself as subordinate to the IRGC, but as leading a separate complementary effort that supported what Soleimani was doing. But they are very focused on the destruction of Israel.
Well, Iran reportedly has now rejected a new ceasefire deal. That happened late yesterday, and it was presented by Iraq's prime minister on behalf of President Trump. The prime minister brought the proposed deal to him and then to Iran and presented it to top Iranian officials who refused to even entertain the proposal. The terms of the rejected deal are unclear, meaning they're not public, but Iranian officials described it as a quote-unquote temporary deal that did not resolve the question of who would control the Strait of Hormuz. Did we just glaringly miss this with the Strait of Hormuz? I mean, this has become, in their eyes, equal to any sort of discussion about nuclear weapons. Now, we're clear-eyed on they can never get one, but they are clear-eyed on they really want the Strait.
Absolutely. I think there were probably perhaps some flawed planning assumptions and a belief that Iran would not mine the straits or damage the straits. Obviously, they could. I think there were some flawed planning assumptions, those who assumed they would not do that because it would hurt the Iranian economy. But we should not underestimate the willingness of the men who are leading the Islamic Republic, their willingness and ability to absorb pain, whether that's in the form of years-long sanction regimes or punishing airstrikes. The well-being of the Iranian people is not at the top of their list. And if they believe that this is what they need to do to choke off the Straits of Hormuz in order to get what they want from the United States, and I think they're willing to do that, our airstrikes don't seem to have budged the needle on their determination to control the Straits, at least not yet.
One last question, and it has to do with Saudi Arabia. And, you know, the reporting around that says that the president made the demand that any sort of deal going forward with regard to them having nuclear capacity in terms of energy is how I understand it. The enrichment question is still open. But they would have to join the Abraham Accord. What would be the reason they wouldn't want to do that? And might they decide to do it? Why would they want to?
So they may want to. Certainly the logic for doing so is very strong, but it would be exceptionally difficult for the Crown Prince to publicly defend the formal recognition of Israel at this time, as long as the issues related to Palestinian statehood are unresolved. Saudi Arabia is not Bahrain or the UAE. They are the custodian of the Islamic world's holiest sites. And as such, they hold a strong leadership position in the Arab and Islamic worlds that comes with a certain responsibility. And again, to recognize Israel at this time without some kind of concessions towards the Palestinian people would really be politically toxic for them. And it's not something that could happen right now, given Israel's public positions towards the Palestinians and their potential for statehood. Something needs to change in Israel before Saudi Arabia can publicly acknowledge that.
What is the something?
A change towards possibility for Palestinian statehood, a recognition of a possibility of a two-state solution, some change in the status of Palestinians, probably not just in Gaza, but also in the West Bank.
Wow. So feasibly an impossibility at this point in history, no doubt. Lieutenant General Gibson, it's always great to have you in focus. Thank you for being with me. Be sure to...
Yeah, we have to, with the Iran, so like you said, we have to wait and see, will there be big major military action? I don't know. It could be. If like Iran, keeps attacking more of our bases and keeps killing more of our servicemen, then Trump could decide to do a major attack. I still think it's so stupid that that we have like so many bases out in the Middle East. It's like, especially for Iraq. Like the Iraq War's been done since like 2011, but you know, we still have bases there. It's just fucking retarded. If we didn't have any bases in the Middle East, Iran would not be attacking the Gulf states. Well, they probably would, but they wouldn't be killing our service members. So, and like I said, with the Saudi deal, I'm still skeptical about it. I don't know. I hope it works out. Hope the Saudi Arabia deal works out. I know Trump's very close with the Saudi prince. He went to the White House last year. They give the red carpet. We went to Saudi Arabia last year. They, got the red carpet ride and all that stuff, and they give a jet. I just don't trust any country really just having nuclear weapons, man. I don't know. It's just the history of that region, and it's just they've caught that there's so much all the conflicts they've had for centuries over there, and all the terrorist attacks that happened from that region. It's just, I don't know. I'm just very, very kind of but. We have to wait. We have to wait and see, man. So we have to see what happens. Basically just talking about. We already saw more about the Iran stuff. It's just basically should be the same talking points from the video we just finished. So we'll just look at another Fox News video of a different topic. Okay, just let me fix my hat.
You guys killed 2 humans that round. Okay.
Shit, I need to fix my hat.
Worth 45. Like, are those other humans worth less?
What's this one? Oh, this is some socialism. All right, we'll look at this one, okay? Go look at this.
I'm 40 years old. Last month, I caught my wife crying in the bathroom because I couldn't get hard in bed. She wouldn't even look at me anymore. We're basically roommates. So I tried everything.
Even though they're through.
Rhino 69, $22 at a gas station.
Leader of the squad says America has nothing to fear. New York Congresswoman AOC is waving off Republican warnings now about socialism, about communism. She says the right is just trying to scare off voters about the growing progressive.
You realize the left does that with MAGA.
Isn't there concern that this slippery slope towards socialism inevitably ends up as full-blown communism? I mean, no, I'm not concerned about America turning into a communist country. I think it's very silly. Do Republicans really think that this stuff is going to happen? No, they don't. They're trying to scare people because they don't want us talking about order. The fact that we all have a right to health care in this country. So they want to call it communist, and they want to call everything they don't like communist because
they don't care about health care.
People actually wake up to the fact that their elected officials are screwing them over when they get here.
So meanwhile, Pete Buttigieg joined us on America Reports earlier today. He compared the rise of socialism to the rise of Donald Trump and MAGA.
There's always going to be some people in my party who go too far for me, people I disagree with. I think one of the reasons why you see people who run on a promise of shaking it up, whether it's a DSA candidate on the left or whether it's someone like Donald Trump, is because people can tell that the system we have is not just showing its age, it's letting us down. That system can change. There's a way to do that that is not destructive.
What kind of Jesse, it seems like the folks who are most alarmed about the sudden surge in DSA candidates is perhaps the establishment of the Democratic Party itself. Everybody seems very eager to pretend they have no idea what anybody's talking about. They never heard of them. They never saw them.
Well, I mean, communism is scary. I'm more scared of communism than snakes. Snakes aren't going to take my money and my property. Communism will. Communism will take my job. Mondani says he wants to seize the means of production.
That is true.
He said it. It's on tape.
That is true. Socialism.
That means if Kamala's elected,
the means of production and
they seize Fox. That means I lose not one, but 2 shows, and Jessica gets them. Is that a good thing? No. Is it scary? Absolutely.
Oh,
Am I
man.
that scared? No, because we're going to beat them. They say they want to destroy Western civilization. I love Western civilization.
I do
I'm having a
too, man.
great time here. We
I
all
am.
are.
Yes.
Do you want to give it all back to the Indians? No,
No.
absolutely not. They also said they want to abolish prisons and police and borders. Now, I take that as a threat.
I do too.
That sounds scary.
Yes,
that
it is very
sounds like
scary.
they want to hurt me. Okay?
Yes.
I don't like that. They also say they want to take my doctor. All right? Siegel gives me whatever I want. I get pills. I get procedures. Some of them are cosmetic. And then they want to make sure everybody has a government doctor. Okay, think about that. So everybody gets free teeth, free vasectomies, free sex change surgeries. There are 340 million Americans here. If everyone's getting free procedures, we're bankrupt. Do the math.
True.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think the commies want your job.
Yes, they do.
Or
They would
give you a
love to
sex
see me
change.
go digging ditches.
Oh,
in
I
the
don't
Bronx.
give a fuck
They would
about
love
this.
that.
Come on,
And then
Jesse.
you too, Jessica. You don't like
so
capitalism.
good.
That means you don't get
Shit.
paid.
Come on, man.
I have to do your show for free?
Yes. Two.
Well, I already do this show with you.
Yeah, but Jessica, it's going to be a mess. And you know it's a mess. And now they're trying to redefine what it is. They're like, oh, well, you know, public libraries, you know, that's like socialism, or the fire department. We've had those things for centuries. That's not what you think it is, you idiots. I just think they're lazy. And I could go on and on about these people. They don't want to work, so they want to just wreck the whole thing. And I won't let them. And you should join us, Jessica, and say, stop, freeze, put your hands behind your back, and we're going to throw you in prison. You want to empty the prisons? We're going to stuff you in one. I think there are laws on the books about communism in this country. It's illegal. Are you still talking? Apparently I am. No one is in it right now. This is like if I had a podcast.
Did our producers go out for drinks or something?
No, they're in my ear. Okay, sorry. All right. Listen, Charlie, it baffles me, and I want to hear your take on this too, that people are so surprised by this so-called surge of socialism and socialist thought on the left. AOC, I mean, she's hardly an upstart candidate anymore. She's been in office for what, like 8 years or something. This is not a new line of reasoning.
Yeah, and she has for a long time captured all of the energy of the party. And I think a big reason we're talking about all this today is because of her ability to sell this corrupt message in a nice package. But I also think that, to listen to Pete Buttigieg talk about how, like, comparing the DSA movement, the communist movement, to the Trump movement, it could not be a dumber analysis that you could make.
I can't do it, man.
The whole point of Trump, just like the Tea Party before Trump, was because people were frustrated and they wanted politicians to move back towards the Constitution.
Yeah,
and
libertarian.
it succeeded. It
I
worked.
agree with the Tea Party.
And President
wish we still had
Trump
the Tea Party.
does a better job of representing actual voters than any other politician before him. This DSA crowd, these people are full-blown communists. They're trying to drag the Democratic, succeeding at dragging the Democrat Party away from the center of the Constitution, off some leftward lurch that's going to ruin the country if they actually get control. I don't think they're going to get control, because I think in most of America, you have sane people who are just not going to support the nonsense.
The hook, Greg, with these candidates is always the same before they, sort of veer off into anti-Israel, anti-Senate, anti-Supreme Court stuff. The hook is always income inequality, this wealth gap that's widening, people are unhappy, and that's it.
Yeah, and as if they have the solution for it. But they don't tell you what that solution is. AOC is pushing a hook. Socialism is not a working class phenomenon. It doesn't come from plumbers, electricians, or welders. It comes from people who majored in degrees that do no good for them. They're white elitists, or the brats of upper middle class intellects who cosplay as proletariats. Look at Mayor Zoran, a rapper nepo baby of a left-wing professor and a movie director. He just, he moved here at 7 becomes a citizen 20 years later. Does he have an authentic blue-collar American experience? Does he even know what that is? So should we be scared? I think that if you can see what's coming, you should be scared, because most radical revolutions are carried out by a small, determined minority. It's not the active participation of the majority of the population. The broader population is usually taken by surprise in these matters, because by nature, we're kind of passive politically, and that allows a tight-knit group of elites to seize power, first through a party, then through the cities, communications, i.e. the media, academia. The Bolsheviks were a minority party. The Cuban Revolution was started by 82 men. China under Mao, that was done through, I guess, controlling party cadres. These all start small, but the ingredient that helps them succeed is passivity. AOC's laugh is deliberate. It's telling you not to notice, that you're silly for noticing, that you're silly for being worried. Relax, there's nothing to see here, because socialism's ascendance is based on us being passive the same way they gaslit us with Joe Biden. You noticed he was off? No. Sharp as a tack. Keep them passive. Don't let them notice the truth. God forbid you notice the truth. So that's what they're doing right now. It's not that big of a deal. Hey, it's almost just like MAGA.
Jess, you get the last word.
Great. So AOC is laughing because she's bored of getting the same line of attack. And it makes me think about what you say, Greg, when you say, look, you've been calling me a Nazi a long time. Doesn't mean anything to me. You called him Hitler starting in 2016. The words don't matter anymore. That's what she's saying back to you. You've been calling every Democratic candidate for over a decade a socialist or communist.
The socialists are calling themselves socialists. We didn't name them the DSA.
Well, that's the fun part. First of all, and to your point, Charlie, which I think is a sound one, let's see how many elections DSA candidates win. And let's see where they win.
Nine.
So if they take
Hopefully
the
wins
big blue
nine.
cities, I get that. If they
That's
start
my
winning
goal.
swing
Win-
districts,
hopefully win
if Al-Sayed is going to be
zero.
the candidate on the ballot line against Mike Rogers in Michigan, then we're going to have a different conversation. You say that's the point of socialism. You keep them passive. And I could make the argument, and I will make the argument, that you guys have been kept passive because you didn't say anything when Donald Trump took a stake in U.S. Steel or in Intel. If a Democratic president had done that, you would have lost your mind. You would have said, socialism is coming to the shore.
Explain the stake and
I
how
hate
it works.
I don't know why they
Please.
can't stay
Like,
just
how is that the same as socialism?
It is a private company that the government, so it's socialism, and really in communism, I guess, is supposed to take own the means of production, to control every facet of life in said country. So when Donald Trump says, hey, I'd like 10%. That's a nice business you got over there. I'd like 10% of it.
That's never been done before.
He's not controlling the company.
Not
He's
here.
just putting money into it. It's industrial policy.
No, they have to pay a tithe to the U.S. government. Everyone knows it. That's why they show up in the Oval
Didn't we
Office.
do that with the banks, the bailouts? It happens a lot in U.S. history.
No, it is absolutely different than the bailouts, and you absolutely know.
What about Tesla? This happens a lot. The government gives money, loans money, gets paid back.
It's not just a government contract. It is ownership. It is part ownership of an American company that is supposed to be distinct from the government. If you are not being massive hypocrites, but you are, and we are out of time.
So you should love it then, right? Because
so you admit that it's going.
I'm just going through your line of
Sadly, she's right.
but you should like it.
I'm a
because the taxpayers made billions of dollars on that investment.
But also, is an absolute lie. His investment level, what is he, at 19 trillion or whatever that's coming into the coffers? They're paying more out than they're taking in because of their illegal tariffs anyway.
Intel or the rest of the country?
The
what are you
government.
talking about?
Well, you're talking
the investment the United States government made in Intel made a lot of money for the taxpayer.
No.
Yeah, the American taxpayer feels like they're getting a lot out of this administration. Over 70% says he's not paying attention to
You're
their
just rambling. I'm talking about we made a lot of money on that investment.
Guys, this
US
segment
taxpayer.
is 7 minutes over.
And we'll probably get out and then pay down the debt.
All right, stick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can't stand socialism. It's fucking retarded. AOC's an idiot. You know, she was constantly calling conservatives fascists, neo-Nazis, racist, bigots, xenophobic, white supremacists. So she's a bullshitter. Willis is new. Like Jersey was around, so somebody was saying about socialism, they started, sort of the, the jokes, like Greg, was saying, like right what you're saying. Like, I don't like Jessica Tarlov. I can't fucking stand her. Like, I can't stand her, but sadly she is right. You know, the administration owning 10% of like Intel, like Dell, U.S. Steel. Like Apple, that is a form of socialism. That is literally a Bernie and AOC talking point. That is on the doorsteps of fucking socialism. They get to like bullshit. That's basically like Trump saying, "All right, I want a 10% share of Fox." That's a form of fucking socialism. That's basically taking away the means of fucking production. That's socialism. It's not a bailout. It's like a ban for the fucking taxpayer. It's like, dude, it's bullshit. They're so fucking delusional. They just, oh my god, they can never admit when Trump is wrong, man. They will, like I say, he can commit fucking genocide in fucking Africa, like slaughter their heads off. Take their water and food and Jesse Waters and all them. We'll say how great it was. It's so stupid, man. It just blows my mind that they're terrified of criticizing Trump. They know that if they have any criticism of Trump, he will fucking lose his fucking mind, and he will basically tell people something on Fox News, and he would literally demand the administration to like fucking sue Fox News. They're terrified of that shit. He would basically ban like Fox News and go to the White House, basically. So, well, yeah, it's just bullshit. We definitely need to combat socialism. We need to get more regional people on both sides, on the Democrats and Republican side, to like get in the midterms. Not these fucking stupid retarded tankies, man. It's just like, it's dumb. All right, boys. I know we only watched like 2 videos, only 2 Fox News videos. But I really want to watch the new fuentes on their buying interview. I really want to watch it, man. So we're gonna get right into it. So whoever thought that we were never gonna get an interview, having the same roots here, Nick Fuentes and Hunter Biden, whoever thought in a million fucking years that would happen, man? I would have said no way. Dude, this is gonna be hilarious. I cannot wait to see what they have to say. There's reports that they almost fought each other. They almost like threw punches at each other. I'm ready to look at it, boys. I am ready to fucking look at it.
It's so frustrating.
Instead of me talking now, let's get straight into it.
You said you want to ask me, why are you a Nazi?
Inclusion has been our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength.
White people do feel like we are being boxed out.
A 26-year-old white kid doesn't feel like he has access
Right,
because
we
he's been
probably
canceled,
should be
and the
able to
problem
finish
is
this
black.
I didn't say the problem's black
Well,
people.
I
Oh,
would
you
like
just
to
did,
say
Nick. You just said
The problem is
I'll-
crime, and we know who's doing the crime in Chicago.
Do you get what I'm saying
Yes.
about the Holocaust thing?
Oh, about that. We get to say whatever we want on the internet. We get to deny the Holocaust. As far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights.
What do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. Like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person.
What about fucking Donald Trump? There's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you.
Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense.
Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, whichever firm is the one to develop ASI that could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company.
Everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes.
Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platform.
Everything that AI is built on is ours. That's what they're stealing from us. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there. Okay?
The kind of first question that I had whenever
caught wind that you wanted to do an interview like this is, why now? What made you want to sit down for this kind of interview?
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation to have all of us here. And, I think it's a moment in our country when there's a lot of realignment. I think that people recognize, especially in the past couple of years, I'm like a non-conventional critic, maybe, of what's happening. And so I think it'll be an interesting, productive conversation. I think it'll be different.
But I mean, specifically, because we kind of share a publicist, I heard that you wanted to kind of... Okay. we have a publicist that you hit up, and you said that you wanted to talk to someone who would give you kind of a fair shot to like clear up some things and maybe some misconceptions about you and the things you believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, I'm somebody who I think like you, actually, maybe we have this in common, is kind of pigeonholed in a certain way for things that we've done in the past or things that we've said.
I'm a crackhead.
But I'm racist, right?
I got pigeonholed there. Mine is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine's a little true. Maybe a little, no. But yeah, so I think it'd be good to clear up some of the misrepresentations and put out something accurate.
So what do you think is the most misrepresented thing about you?
Well, I think really the whole image everybody has about me. When you mentioned me, I think on a recent show, you said you want to ask me, why are you a Nazi?
Yeah.
And that's how everybody knows me. Everybody thinks of me as white supremacist Nazi, and I don't think that's really true at all. I think that we definitely have different values. I mean, you're more from the left, I'm more from the right, but I don't think I'm a hater. I'm not a hateful person.
It is Heil Hitler Friday. Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis.
Hitler was very fucking cool.
Yes.
I watched this entire
and I'm tired of pretending he's not.
So what's the thing about, I guess, traditional Nazism that you think you disagree with the most?
Well, it's a non-Christian ideology. So, I mean, look, I believe that race is real, as the Nazis did, but I don't think it utterly defines a person. As a Christian, I think we're all created beings. I do believe there's such a thing as a universal human community. And so I think it's a cruel ideology. I've said this on my show, by the way, but I mean, that would maybe be the fundamental.
Did you always feel that way?
Always, yeah, absolutely.
So even whenever you were younger and stuff?
I did, but you got to recognize times have changed. 10 years ago, we had a totally different political world. The regulation and policing of speech, what you would call wokeness, I think was at an all-time high when I got started as a very young man.
What would you call wokeness?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think, I mean, would you not say there were some excesses maybe in those days?
Yeah, in those days, I wasn't doing too well, so I wasn't paying much attention. Anyway, I would love to hear, and I'm not asking you to retract everything that you've ever said and all, or anything, but I said that I would love to talk to you because number one, I told you this, is that I think you're really smart, and I think that with that comes in a real responsibility, and you have an audience. And I have a friend whose son is my daughter's age, maybe 28, your age. And he's really smart. And he is a big fan of yours. And so by virtue of the relationship, I got to learn what it is why he is a fan of yours. And none of it has to do with, I hope you agree, like really egregious things that you've said in the past about the Holocaust or about,
Did the Jews ever talk about the 100 million whites that died in World War II? Or do they just bitch and moan about the so-called 6 million Jews that died?
And so it's just nice to poke holes in it and say, it's not 6 million.
6 million? I don't think so.
And I don't even know, I think I've heard you since kind of rescind a lot of that.
You concede that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust.
Possibly more. Possibly, we're discovering all the time. So it could maybe even be more than that.
But what he agrees with is kind of the anger about the situation that particularly your generation finds yourself. I know that to be real. And I think that there, maybe my reasons for recognizing that anger as being legitimate and my targets are different than yours. I just wanted to hear from you. When you say you were canceled by the right in 2016.
Yes.
I almost felt like in preparing to meet you now, is that your reaction to that was to just dig deeper and deeper into kind of the outsider, kind of radical, say anything for the purpose of generating, the attention to build an audience. Is that true? And it's not an accusation. I really mean it. I want this to be a conversation as much as possible.
I mean, there's certainly some truth to that, but I think that might be overstating it a little bit because I really got got canceled by the right and the left.
Yeah.
And back in those days in 2017, you had these far left journalists, the Huffington Post, Right Wing Watch, ADL, SPLC, and I really believe they were on a mission to find extremist rhetoric, the white nationalist, neo-Nazi boogeyman, all that kind of stuff. And they would look at someone like myself, 18, and if I was being serious or joking, things taken out of context, they would clip it, post it, and they wanted me to be the villain. And I think they wanted a lot of people to be the villain. I think the left, in a way, kind of created this climate where I think they pushed a lot of people farther to the right.
No, by the way, that very well may be true, but you gave them a lot of ammunition.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I hope that some of those things that you said in the past are not things that you believe in, and that are you meant just to engender like a really radical kind of response. I mean, is that true? Or no?
Well, you know, again, I think that back in those days, you could not say anything. In 2017, 2018, cancel culture was so in overdrive. Any joke, any edgelording, anything like that, they would. First of all, there was no sense of humor.
I'm so old. I don't know.
Okay, well, to break it down for you, so the dawn of wokeness, as it's known today, I think was in like the post-Trump era. After Trump won the election in 2016, there was a big movement to deplatform and kind of push away those who, I guess, the left feel like had galvanized against the presidency. So there was this big idea that if you push people off mainstream social media platforms, they would go away. Now we know through Trump's reelection, that's not even true. But at the time, that was the mantra. Problematic viewpoints needed to be silenced, tucked away somewhere, and they would just sort of die in isolation. So I think that was the climate where you first got started, 2017. That time period was like crucial for getting people off mainstream platforms.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would say that you got to get into the psychology of those days. It felt like anybody that wasn't on board with the most progressive agenda had no options. There was just no alternative. It was going to be progressive, liberal, feminist, BLM, all that kind of stuff. And if you were to the right of John McCain, you're no platformed, censored, banned from all the platforms. You're fired from your job. You're ostracized socially. And I think what happened really in 2021 when Trump got banned from the platforms is it felt like 70 million people got canceled. 70 million people that voted for Trump, or 60, 70 million people. We were all felt like, oh, so if Trump is out of politics and we're all banned from the platforms, then how is there any redress for our grievances? Do we just have to shut up and get with the program and we're all going to be progressive? And I think that drove people to a far more radical place where people said, well, what really is a solution? We can't talk. We can't express ourselves. We can't participate in the process or run for office. And I was one of the people saying that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to drive people to extremism. If you don't talk, if people don't feel like they have a seat at the table and enfranchisement, I think then they start exploring options outside the system, outside of the political process, the democratic process. So I think it's self-inflicted in many ways.
So you feel like after the mass deplatforming in 2021, whenever people on the right got pushed to platforms like Parler, Gab, Rumble, etc., the lack of discourse and like the political singularity of those platforms created more extremism?
Absolutely. Because look, you take Trump off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I predicted this in 21. I said, watch, you're going to see alternative social media rise because some venture capitalists are going to see there's a huge market of 70 million people that are going to follow Trump because Trump is no platform. And that's exactly what happened. Rumble blew up, Elon bought Twitter. And what happened when you had total free speech on these platforms? Well, Twitter now resembles 4chan. And now, there's no gatekeepers. And I think it did push people in a radical direction. And honestly, people are even blowing past me. Now there's like mainstream normie types that are even blowing past me in terms of how radical they are. People start saying things like, there's no political solution. There's going to be a civil war. We need a revolution. And I think that's because the message from the left was you're crushed. You have no options. You can't win. There's no alternative. Trump is going to be indicted and charged and can't run. You can't be on Twitter. You can't have a job. And so people started to say, okay, well, we still exist. We're still here. We still have these concerns. What do we do now? And then people start to say, well, we need a revolution. And I'm one of the only people saying, no, we should still engage in the process and talk with each other. And it's not all one-sided. I think there's problems on the left and the right, but I certainly think it takes two to tango.
Okay, so we agree. I think that there are problems on the left and the right. and I don't disagree with some of the things that you just said. I guess I just came to a different conclusion that there are some things that people should be deplatformed for. Not that they can't say it or they want to say it, but I think that it's a right of anybody.
Okay, top 3 things. What do you think?
There's a difference between being able to say that you're proud of your white heritage and also being just flat out racist. I think that there's a difference between saying you're proud of your Christian heritage and the white culture from what you come from, and not, or that you adopt the Nazism as a legitimate ideology. I think that there's a difference between saying that you disagree with the United States policy as it relates to Israel and saying that the Holocaust didn't exist.
I was like, Mom, Dad, Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right. The Holocaust didn't happen. And my parents were like,
this is so stupid.
Those are the two top 3 things in my mind. I know that you believe that some people took you out of context, and I do agree. Look,
No,
on
that's
both
insane.
the right
Crazy.
and the left, there are these gatekeepers, 100%. And look at me, the mainstream press just destroyed me for 7 years without any real kind of reflection about what they were doing. I do think that, some of those things are legitimate reasons to say, we don't want you on our, on a commercial platform. Would you agree with that? I mean, you just said, for instance, people calling for like an armed revolution, like people calling for actual violence. You're opposed to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm against violence, and I do think those are one of the legitimate things that should be taken from the platform. There's a lot of the stuff on social media I don't agree with, but again, what started to happen is there was this like editorial censorship where certain ideas were banned, and it was such a broad brush and also totally opaque and ad hoc. You'd be on YouTube, like I was, for example, they banned me for life and didn't even give me a reason. Not a specific quote, not a specific infraction. And so you don't know what the rules are. You don't know what the process is. They just take you down. And especially now when everything is digital, that's not just the social platforms, it's the other ones like Uber, Airbnb, whatever. It feels like you're being denied almost something like a civil right, because the social platforms are the modern public square. Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, the banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platforms. And it felt like if you just simply had the wrong opinions or you were the wrong kind of person, you were being deprived of like a basic civil right or being able to participate in society. So, and I think maybe that's an area of collaboration where we recognize maybe it is a civil right to use the digital platforms, but here are the rules. Here's what you can say. Here's what you can't say. Here's the process. Maybe there's a reconciliation mechanism, but I mean, the censorship was just out of control. I don't think anyone disagrees there's a reasonable limit, though.
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't see that as a result of left-wing or right-wing ideology. I view that kind of level of deplatforming. Look, I was debanked. I was debanked before I was ever even charged with anything. I lost every bank account. It took me, 9 months once they, the Trump administration, said that they were starting an investigation into me to be able to actually get a bank account again. And I don't want to tell you the bank because tomorrow they may debank me again. But my point is that those people are incredibly identifiable. I keep, I've been talking and going around and I say things like, I don't think we are nearly as divided as they're telling us we are. Because I do believe that there are an identifiable group of people that are responsible for an enormous amount of the discord and division because they make money off of it. I think that these social media companies that are controlled by 3, 4, 5, individuals have made it clear that they only care about one thing. They only care about how much money they can produce for themselves and the people that hold stocks in their company. Even to the degree where we know for certain that they're driving teenage girls to the highest levels of suicide by a factor, like exponential factors, directly related to the content that they're being pushed, and they won't do anything about it. Right? And so, to the same degree, I think a lot of what you call wokeness was maybe an illegitimate, but a financial decision on a lot of these
corporate psyop, maybe.
Corporate psyop.
Thank you.
I mean, by the way, Exactly. You know, I mean,
I just wanted to back up real quick. So you talked about certain people going too far. About 2.5 months ago, I visited a whites-only community in Hardy, Arkansas. And I don't know why. I guess coming from like a more like left-wing place, I'm from Seattle. I kind of assumed there was like a united front on the right for some reason. So I'm out there, I'm chilling with these dudes. They're like sword fighting, having barbecues. It was, I mean, overall, it was a good time for them. I had a hard time connecting with them because I don't agree with them, but it's all good. I was having fun for a couple days. And then, like, right as I was there, I guess you had hit them up on X or something and said, like, hey, I don't want to associate with you guys. What happened?
Well, that was really more of a personal disagreement with the guy that founded it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an interesting project, and it's interesting that got so much pushback, this whites-only community, because you know what? If you go to a lot of these different neighborhoods in major cities, there are ethnic enclaves, and it's not like there's an explicit rule that you have to be a certain ethnicity, but we all know in Chicago and New York and LA, you got certain neighborhoods where it is 80, 90% one ethnicity. And I think there's a lot of white people that say, we kind of want something similar. I don't think there's anything.
Well, okay, let's back up. If you want to talk about the histories of, New York and Chicago, I feel like that was also a conscious decision that was made like after the Civil Rights Act.
Blacks only. It's in Cabrini Green, where Mayor Daley made everybody that was black live in Cabrini Green. I mean, it's not that wasn't by choice. It's not by choice that these ethnic enclaves are 80 or 90%, whatever that ethnicity is. It's because that's the only place in which they had an opportunity to live unbothered, or where they were told that they had to live because of the historical fact that they could not move into other neighborhoods. You could not move into parts of South Chicago without, being stoned, right? Literally, right? And so, like that. So it's not as if those ethnic enclaves are there by choice, and so
also ethnic enclaves do exist for like specific variations of different Europeans. Like, there is like places that are chocolate. Like South Philly is full of Italians.
There's Little Italy and there's Little Korea.
I think the issue, what I always like, what confused me the most about the whites only community is like there's just so many different kinds of white people in America. So like to establish a unified white culture with a place so diverse and full of like different regional flavors just kind of felt confusing to me, because that can mean a different thing depending on what part of the country or what European enclave you originated from. Like, we're Irish people from the Philly area. Can you compare that to like, surfers in San Diego, or even like, Italian Americans in Staten Island? I don't know, everything just feels so different. So when I got there, I was trying to identify what they meant by white culture. It wasn't really based on shared like cultural practices, but more the exclusion of people who weren't white. So they weren't like stoked on being European necessarily. They were more just like, oh, we're here because those people aren't here. So it just kind of felt more negative than constructive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really involved with that project in particular, but I think that, look, I mean, you talk about the anger that's out there and the frustration, and I think part of the frustration, let's be honest, is that white people do feel like we are being boxed out in major cities in the country, and it feels like, look, there's a little Haiti, and there's just various ethnic enclaves where you get that local culture, and they do their, cultural festivals and that sort of thing. And white people feel like they're being pushed out, and they want a space where things are familiar.
Do you feel the same way about the Italian festival that happens in every city?
Well, here's a good example. So,
or St. Patrick's Day?
Well, there's no Irish neighborhood in Chicago. Little Italy.
There is.
I mean, there's some remnant in Bridgeport.
Yeah. It's important to note that, like, and I'm not trying to get into like a shouting match here, but like, as a family coming from a family who did leave Philadelphia in the 60s because of black migration from the South after the Civil Rights Act was passed, there was a sort of like mass flight of white people into the suburbs, and that kind of led to a homogenization of different cultures, because they rushed so fast to build these like identical strip mall suburbs that it was very hard to maintain cultural bonds that made different European and white neighborhoods unique around like the 1950s and before. So I feel like the mass suburbanization is also a big factor that led to those like cultural bonds breaking.
Yeah, but why did that happen? I mean, a lot of the urbanization is because of the race riots in the 1960s. People moved out because of the violence. My grandfather was in the National Guard in Chicago when, after MLK got assassinated, the whole West Side burned to the ground.
Yeah.
People didn't want to be around that anymore.
Why were the riots?
MLK Jr. was assassinated. And so does that justify burning down the city?
No, I didn't say it justifies it, but it sure justifies an enormous amount of the anger, the same kind of anger that you feel about being left out, the same kind of anger that you're expressing right now about the idea that you're culturally irrelevant, that you don't have a place in society. Imagine if you were a 26-year-old black man in 1968 and saw your hero be assassinated. And
I
nothing be
saw
done about
Trump
it.
get shot in the ear, and I saw Charlie Kirk get shot, and I didn't see any cities get burned down. It's funny how
I
that
think
works.
it's a very, very, very different thing. I think
How
it's
is that different?
absolutely
Charlie
different
Kirk
thing.
got shot in the neck.
Yeah.
And liberals celebrated all over social media by Tyler Robinson.
Yeah. Who is what?
Who is some liberal guy.
He is?
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
He's got a transgender boyfriend.
So that makes him liberal? Because he's transgender? Because he's gay?
Well, because he's got a transgender boyfriend, yeah, I think so.
That makes him liberal?
I think he was liberal, yeah.
Okay, well, he didn't come from a liberal family. He didn't come from a liberal enclave. He didn't come from a liberal background. He's not a minority. He was a Mormon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And grew up in a Mormon household. And he went to a largely Mormon college.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up committing an act of violence, according to the FBI and the authorities in Utah that charged him. How does that in any way compare to what we're talking about? I'm not justifying the violence that occurred after the death of Martin Luther King, but you're saying that that person, this Tyler, whoever his name is was as disenfranchised as the African American community in 1968 in inner cities?
Well, the question is who we want to live around.
I'm not living around blacks. Sorry, I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry.
And in the 1960s, the West Side burns down. We don't want to live around that. We don't want to live around a city that's burning down.
That's not when the white flight happened.
It is. It was a big response to it, absolutely.
100% not.
Absolutely.
You make these historical connections that don't exist. Part of it was potentially, but before that, what Mayor Daley did is made Chicago the most segregated city in the entire United States, other than Boston. When you would come from the South to Chicago, African Americans from the South, blacks in the South coming to Chicago would say that Chicago was twice the level of segregation and racism that occurred in the South. And so it wasn't as if you're coming into a situation in which you're feeling in any way enfranchised by the community and the situation that you're in. And as many people left simply because of the idea that someone was black moving into their neighborhood as the violence that occurred after the assassination of Martin Luther King. So the numbers actually, pre-1968 when King was shot, you had more people leave the city because of the desegregation, because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act than you did after the riots.
I think that's just not true. I think that the race riots were a huge driver of white flight to the suburbs. I think it's just dishonest to say that's not the case.
Okay, so what's your point about all this?
Well, we're talking about where people want to live.
Yeah, I know. So like what in 2026?
Well, how about in 2020 when Minneapolis burned to the ground? Or how about in the summer of 2020 in Chicago?
Minneapolis didn't burn to the ground.
It didn't?
No.
BLM didn't destroy
It almost physical witness to what happened in Minneapolis. There were many structures that burned to the ground. Not the city, but there was, I would say, between 40 to 50 buildings off of Lake Street on the south side that did burn to the ground. But most of the city was intact, but it was quite an intense situation.
People don't want to live around that. People don't want to live around that. You know, in Chicago, it rolled on into the summer, and it wasn't, let's say, the anger of the oppressed and the disenfranchised.
So
they were looting. They were looting and carjacking, the criminals.
Are you saying that the problem with the 26-year-old white kid living in suburbia outside of Chicago and his feeling of being disenfranchised is because there was looting and rioting in Minneapolis by black people? And it's black people that are doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Austin Metcalf was that he got stabbed in the neck at a track meet. And the problem with our city in Chicago is that the Magnificent Mile is gone. Water Tower Place is gone because of all the crime.
Nick, and the time from an entire generation of African Americans is that they've been getting killed by cops for decades.
That's
what are you talking about, Nick?
Doesn't commit crime. And listen, it's not.
Nick,
what?
That's not true. It's not true. Are you saying that police brutality as it relates and racism in the police force, in the way in which police treat African Americans? Nick, you could grow up here like I did between Wilmington and Philadelphia. And if you were a black dentist and you lived in Wilmington and you commuted to Philadelphia, the chances of you being pulled over by a state trooper, either Delaware or in Pennsylvania, are about 50 times that would be if it was a white guy. 50 times. And so what you're trying to tell me is that the problem in America right now is that a 26-year-old white kid who lives in suburban Chicago doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled or he's been woke. And the problem is black people.
I didn't say the problem's black people.
Well, you just did, Nick. You just
I said the problem is crime. And we know who's doing the crime in Chicago. The carjackings, shootings, teen takeovers. We know why there's no business on the Mag Mile anymore. And it's because they steal cars, they drive them through windows. And listen, black people are some of the biggest victims of the black crime. But we're not allowed to talk about it because of the racial
What do you mean
dimension.
you're not allowed to talk about it? We're talking about it right here.
Hey,
you
guys,
have a platform with millions
what-
of people listening to you, Nick.
I think
Well, after Elon had to buy Twitter and open it up. It wasn't like that before. I was banned from everything for many years. So no, you weren't allowed to. You're right. We can talk about it now, but that's only because the good guys won.
Hey, what's up, guys? There's something I forgot to tell you about. We also just launched our own streaming platform called C5.now. We have 5 films on there right now. Film number 1, The Art of Protest, made by the homies over at IndyCar, who we interviewed a few months back. Film 2, Rat Film by Theo Anthony, set in Baltimore, investigates the lives and times of the rodent population through the eyes of people who love the rats of Baltimore, study the rats of Baltimore, or are paid to execute and trap the rodents of Charlotte City. Documentary number 3, Star Cash by Haley Garrigus, an amazing Wall Street documentary that follows the lives of market predictors.
All of these other things. You have an enormous platform. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there. We can get there. Okay. What I don't understand is how you didn't recognize that in 2016, and how you didn't recognize that in 2020, and how you didn't recognize that in 2024. Because Donald Trump hasn't changed. Donald Trump hasn't changed at all. Donald Trump has been Donald Trump since he came out of the womb of a woman that was an immigrant to this country. And so what I want to know, though, is that I don't know how we get past this idea that the biggest problem that you have that with your personal situation and how you extrapolate that to the situation of other white kids that are your age, that feel disenfranchised, that feel left out, that feel they don't have a shot at the American dream, is because of black and brown people, because of Mexicans, because of Venezuelans, because of Haitians, because of, it's always other, Nick, with you. It seems to me, and I've listened to a lot of this stuff. It's always them. We need to build a wall. Where's the wall, Nick? You never built the wall. Why'd you vote for him in 2020? Why'd you vote for him in 2024?
I didn't vote for him in 2024.
Okay. My point being is that whenever you identify your problem as being something that is other, that you can point to, that's a minority, that is a group of people, that's the Jews, I mean, before, remember, all of us, you know, it was the Irish Catholics who are committing the crime, who weren't allowed into bars, who weren't allowed into, because you know why? Because they were dirty, poor, non-Europeans. They were Irish. Every time it's wrong. Every time history has proven that to be wrong in the United States of America. Every time. Inclusion has been our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength. And I hear you talk about this idea of white culture. What fucking white culture are you talking about, man? What
Shakespeare,
white...
Dante, Mozart. We're in Philadelphia, the founding fathers.
Yeah.
That's your white
culture. How about
culture.
the Count of Monte Cristo? Would you consider that part of our white culture?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it was written by a black man in France in the 1700s.
In a milieu of European civilization.
So what?
Because you're picking out one example. It really
I'm not
is.
just picking up one example.
It really is.
Nick.
Listen.
Nick, I'm not. I really am not.
Hey, guys, I think we're reaching what's called a rock and a hard place. Let's talk about Israel.
Well, let me respond to this, because you're telling me I'm always blaming the other.
No, Nick, for real. Here's the thing, is that the way that you talk and throw out these historical facts, which, by the way, aren't fucking facts. Okay?
Which ones aren't facts?
Well, as it relates to the Civil Rights Movement in 1968, and the reason why we're out of the problem that we're in is because the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964. Dr. Martin Luther King was killed and shot by a white racist, white supremacist in 1968 on a balcony of a motel. That's the root of our trouble, because an entire people that have been disenfranchised and enslaved for over 400 years.
We're sick of hearing about that, though. It's 2026.
You may be sick of hearing about it, but you know what? They aren't. And I'll tell you what, Nick, here's the other thing. Get over it.
Get over it.
You can say stuff like that, okay, without having to say it like that. And we look,
That's not how it started, though.
This is a legitimate argument, but it's
guys, Nick, Hunter, what do you guys make of the concept of community collapse? Have you guys heard of this?
No.
So it's got nothing to do with race, it's got nothing to do with money, but this is kind of a crazy stat. So in 2019, before COVID, 76% of Americans said they were a part of an in-person community that gave them some kind of value. After COVID, and this year, it was 19%. So I think that politics and race aside, one of the biggest issues is the collapse of social bonds, third spaces, communities, in-person engagement, which comes with loneliness, more time online, and more division. I understand that. I feel like you guys aren't going to agree. I want to talk about what you guys think can be done on an individual and community level to stop people from hating each other and to create more belonging and engagement.
Well, number one, I think this. Okay, for real.
Podcasting.
No, not podcasting. This discussion. For me to be able to sit down with someone who I so vehemently disagree with and find some kind of common ground.
But I mean, guy at home who's watching this on his phone just thinking, I wish I could go outside, but I don't know anyone.
Okay, well, here's what I'm talking about. It's all about connection. It is all about actually connecting with people. And I'm not talking about digitally connecting with people anonymously online. I'm talking about actually going out and connecting with people. And I don't have an answer to that. I don't, any of us. We're in look, man, I just think that you are targeting the wrong problem, Nick. I think that our biggest problem right now doesn't have to do with this cultural divide or racial divide or religious divide or the idea that America is becoming less white or culturally relevant anymore. I think our biggest problem is literally an oligarchy that is inflaming every single division that we have. And by the way, and they're out for you, man, just as much as anybody else. So those platforms that we talk about that you're not allowed to be on because Elon's out on the platform. Elon doesn't give a shit about anything other than one thing.
Wait, Hunter, I just want to
money.
say, real quick.
Money.
Well,
His money.
I don't necessarily even agree with that.
Okay, well, you may not agree with that because you don't want to piss off Elon Musk.
Elon doesn't even like me, but I just disagree.
You're talking about the oligarchy, right? Like these billionaires, right? Like the goal.
No shortcuts.
Oh man, it's been very interesting, dude. Well, yeah, the reason why it's been like
restaurant quality.
Of corporate capture of these industries is community collapse. They are trying to engineer things to make it antisocial. They want to eliminate every single small business. They want to make everyone a single person shopper, no carpooling, like to be a lonely consumer who only buys things for themselves online and doesn't talk to anyone in real life. That's what they want in real life. Like all this data center shit, like everything they're doing is in a way trying to break up in-person engagement. And I feel like for you guys, it might be hard to answer because both of you guys are what they call like controversial public figures. Like there's places that you, in 2018, if you were to go to a dive bar in, let's say, Poplar Bluff, Missouri, you would have been in danger. You know what I mean? At that time, for you were in danger physically in a left-wing city. It's just the truth. So I feel like you guys have been deprived of the ability to have normal lives. You especially, but I mean you in general. But I feel like your controversies came a little bit later in life. For you, I feel like you haven't even been able to grow up as a normal person. Is that accurate to say?
That's true. Well, and in terms of building community back and everything like that, the data says that really the loss of society is the fact that we don't encounter people anymore. For example, on your way to work or, in ways that are unexpected. People wake up in their house, which is separate from everybody else. They get in their car by themselves, drive to work by themselves, and then they meet with their colleagues and everything, but then they go right home, have a beer, watch Netflix until they go to bed. Next day starts all over again. And so, I think it has a lot to do with maybe how we structure the cities. I think, honestly, a big part of it, there's like this abundance mindset with liberals. Liberals want to have prosperity and everything like that. How can you have that when the cities are not safe? I think that one of the ways, for example, if you want to have those encounters that are unplanned or spontaneous, they're going to happen maybe on the subway, on the bus, on your way to work. People don't want to ride the subway anymore. People don't want to ride the bus. They don't
I just feel
like
that if
safe.
you look at the data, like right now, 2026, I think 2025 had the lowest homicide rate of any year in America for like the past 40 years. I feel like if you compare data from the 90s, like the cities, I get what you're saying, but the cities I have noticed are a lot safer. They're also, becoming more expensive as well. Could have something to do.
You're absolutely right. What you're saying, Nick, is impossible to refute, right? Because everybody has an experience with violence or witnessing crime, or whether it's just in their local newspaper or not. Is that I don't think that is in any way limited to only urban environments. I think the top 10 poorest red states in the country, and their crime rates are 10 times what many urban urban centers are.
So you'd be comparing like West Virginia, coal country, disenfranchised to like an urban neighborhood.
Yeah, in terms
basically.
of per capita crime, in terms of per capita murder, in terms of per capita child sex
I've been to
abuse.
West Virginia.
I think the
West
things
Virginia's
that
a
people really
fucking
care about,
shithole. I've been
things
up
like
there.
that, is their own personal
It is-
safety.
Yeah.
It is not
It
limited
is
to
a
African American
shithole.
urban
It is.
or Latino American urban environments. It's not. It exists. Carjackings do happen, but you know where they happen? They happen in Biloxi, Mississippi, just as much as they happen in Chicago.
I'm skeptical of that.
I mean, I just think the idea of like safety at risk, crime has been. I feel like media has overblown the level of
Everybody's
danger.
going to fact check both of us on this, and but I agree with you. But my point about all of it is, though, is that you can always point to a reason, Nick. There's never been a time in which there hasn't been crime in major urban areas where you pack a lot of people in. You're right, though, is that the difference between us feeling like each other are neighbors and that we can find some common ground is the fact, you can live in existence now and by the time you're 56 years old and never really have to leave your house to make a living, you don't go to the community center anymore. And I don't know how to fix that. And I certainly don't know how to fix it in the age of
politics,
AI.
right? Because community is like an essential human need. It's not the most important thing. So when you are deprived of that, you're more likely to look for a radical solution and be like, everything's broken. We need to try something really out there. So you might embrace something more reactionary on left or right to be like, fuck this, we need something new. And I'm not trying to draw this like male loneliness, like incel pipeline that the media tries to do all the time. But do you see a connection there between like people being lonely and having less friends and subcultural choice taking over community value systems or community engagement and people just like driving to the extreme?
100%. I think social dislocation is probably the number one problem of our times, because you look at the young people and you're right, it is one of those essential human needs is to connect and have that sense of familiarity, to be seen, to see and to be seen. And that's something young people don't have. And I think, by the way, you look at the way young people socialize and even the mentality, I think a lot of young people have this absolute drive to go to college. Why? It's an extension of high school. And what do high school and college have in common? It's a community. You're in the quad. You can see and be seen. There's sort of like a status, reputation. You're constantly involved with other people. And I think everybody, young people, look at when they graduate from college like falling off a cliff and now life is over. Because now you just have your job, the gym, and going back home, and that's it. And this is why a lot of young people then want to move to the big cities. Got to go to New York, got to go to Chicago or LA where it's happening. And they want to get a condo or an apartment downtown because they want to go to the bar scene and extend college a little bit longer. And I think that's just not really a sustainable way to have a society. There has to be a way for people to still have that sense of community outside of, let's say, college and high school, even into their adulthood, and then into their old age. So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems going on. And I agree. I think it drives, even to your point about the whites-only community in Arkansas, I think it is driving these, let's call it ghettoization or isolation of people going into these artificial values-based communities. Because where are you going to find people? Go online, start spouting about politics, or even not just for incels and right-wingers, but even on the left. Someone like Tyler Robinson, he's on Discord. He's on Discord with all of the Overwatch players and all the LGBTQ or whatever. And I think that, there's a tendency there where everybody kind of amplifies some of the resentment or feelings there. So I agree, that's a huge driver.
So for you, like back in high school when you were like first kind of starting to use the internet and all that, did you build most of your community in person outside Chicago, or was it mostly online?
When I was in high school or college? High school. High school, I had real friends in Model UN. That was my favorite thing. So that was.
But you were still creating like some kind of content at that time.
Not in high school. No.
Okay. So you went to BU.
Yes.
Were most of your friends like classmates there? Like when did you start to kind of build your online persona and community around your content?
It wasn't until I left college. So to that point, I had friends in college. And then when I left college and started my show independently, then it was all people online. And everybody I knew was people from my community for the most part.
But your cancellation from mainstream platforms was effectively the same thing as like a community collapse for your personal life, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say it was just a cancellation, but even more just returning home from college.
What do you think would have happened to you, like career-wise and personal life-wise, if you never would have been mainstream? I mean, I guess removed from major social media platforms.
Oh, it'd be a lot easier to make friends, let's say, because being banned on Instagram, you might as well be dead. In Generation Z, that's how everybody sees each other, meets each other, talks to each other. So I think I probably have a wider, livelier circle.
Do you feel like you like had less friends after that?
No, I'd say it's about the same.
No, but I mean, you said that like you feel like it would have been easier to make friends.
It would have been easy to make more friends. Yeah, sure.
So aside from your career, how was your like personal and social life affected in those following years?
Well, it's brutal, you know. I mean, because everybody that I knew from high school is on Instagram, on Facebook, and I'm just not on there. It's almost like you're removed from the earth. For Generation Z, I understand for older people, for different generation, people still meet up or stay in touch in other ways. But if you're not online as a young person, you might as well be dead.
Do you think you would have said like some of the more extreme things that you did say if you I guess were allowed to remain on the mainstream internet?
Absolutely, yeah.
Looking back, and I'm not trying to get you to like take something back necessarily. What's like one thing that you said when you were younger where you're like, wish I could take that back?
You know, I don't know if I regret what I've said. It's just how you say it.
Yeah, like can you think of an example of like when you listen back to something, you're like, jeez.
Yeah. So I did this rally in 2023 called Fuentes Rally 2, and the one comment I said, we're talking about a spiritual battle between Christians and everybody else, and I said we're in a holy war. I said, and we're going to make them die in a holy war. And the second I said that, I was like, didn't mean to say that. It's an extemporaneous speech, so you don't rehearse it, you just say things, and I was like, didn't mean that, shouldn't have said that. So it's always the how, it's always in the delivery that I
can think of about 4 things that I really wish you would take back right now. From what you did. The cookies in the oven?
Well, it's a joke.
But it's not, Nick. My wife is Jewish. My son is Jewish. No, Nick. I promise you. Don't get mad.
I'm not mad.
Okay,
It's just,
I know. Okay. But you gotta understand how incredibly, whether it's a joke or not, it's a lived experience passed down from generation to generation, whether or not, and by the way, not just from the Holocaust, not just from 1939 on, 2,000 years of history. Okay, forget about Israeli politics and Netanyahu, because I think we agree about Bibi Netanyahu. I'm positive we do, and I've listened to you talk about it. But you got to understand. Look at me, man. It hurts. It hurts. Nick, I promise you, it does. When you compare my wife's family to cookies going to an oven, it hurts, and you got to understand that. And by the way, I'm looking at you, and I believe that you do know that.
See, that's where you lose me. That's where you lose me.
Okay, Nick. Okay, I'm telling you.
Well, listen, are we here to talk, or are you here to lecture me? And
okay,
preach
no,
to
you're right. I know you're listening.
You're right. This is the thing, because, and I think this is a disconnect. I think that the left, and even people on the right, they're losing the young people. Why do people love me? Not in spite of, but because of the outrageous things that I say. Not in spite of, but because I say offensive things. Because I, let's say, drop the N-word on a video or something. It's because people are sick of the preachiness.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go do something real quick. I'll be right back, man. This shit's been fucking hilarious, man. Holy shit, man. This shit's been fucking hilarious. We're gonna finish this, man. Fuck it. We're gonna finish the entire thing. We got like a little over an hour left. Man, this has been funny as fuck. Yeah. I'll be right back.
Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid. So we've got two.
I can't believe these weak, spineless fucks fall for this shit. Oh my god.
I like Soy Pill. I think Soy Pill's a good person. I think he's tried to do this thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to try to help get,
And now the projection. Now he's going to pretend to have the same problem with the circle that I do.
At, dollars or eyes on issues I care about. So I'm going to go talk at when you're poor, very small. It's like tolerance for
But this fucking interview's been hilarious, man. I'm so glad we're watching this. This is fucking hilarious, man.
No,
the
Nick.
lecturing.
Okay, I'll listen
they
to what
really
you
are.
say. But Nick, I disagree. I think that you're appealing to the lowest common denominator of thought. If you're hating on the people that they think are the reason for their suffering, then you must be on their side. I don't think that you believe that about the Holocaust. I think you think the Holocaust did happen. But forget about whether or not you think that it is used politically in a way that is obtuse and wrong. But I think that you do believe that. And I think that you have to. Like, what's your cultural heritage?
I'm Italian, Mexican, and Irish.
Mexican. When did they come in Italian? When did the Mexicans come? When did the Irish come?
Mexicans came turn of the last century. Italians came in the 1860s.
Yeah.
Irish came in the early 1900s.
Okay, so maybe you wouldn't care about something that is like grossly offensive just on the face of it and think that, oh, why can't people just believe that that's funny? But you got to understand that from the perspective of somebody that has that trauma, and I think that there is such a thing as generational trauma, and those stories are passed down generation to generation. When you say something like that, they completely shut off. They can't hear another thing that you're saying about this cultural disconnect, about losing communities, about the feeling of being left out and left behind in a world in which there no longer is this sense of community. All the other things that you say. Everybody else is left. And what you do pick up, you pick up the ones that hear the dog whistle. You pick up the ones that say, yeah, that's the way that I feel, because it's radical. It's like he's willing to say the thing that nobody else will say in this environment. And then you get an enormous amount of niche, but love from that. And I just don't believe that you believe that. I don't believe that you think that it was appropriate for you to say something like that. I don't think you believe that it's appropriate to say women shouldn't vote.
Let's give Nick a second to respond to the first thing.
I know, I talk constantly. That's how I do this.
It's all good. It's all good.
I apologize.
I get it, and I understand that perspective, and it is offensive, and it is provocative, and that's sort of what makes it funny. I mean, what we would say in our generation's edgelording, we're being edgy, we're being provocative, and I think that it is that kind of overbearing sense for our entire...
I'm the king of edgelord.
Overbearingness that my generation's had our entire lives. That's not appropriate. That's not funny. Think of the trauma. That's racist. That's white supremacist. That makes it funny. That makes it different, interesting. And let me grant, by the way, I think that now, and this is maybe a concession towards you, now that my kind of humor has become mainstream and popular, I don't even think that that's funny anymore. People do the edgelording thing. It's become so commonplace and so tired. I don't think it's that funny or impressive. That's a big part of why I kind of moved past it, because 10 years ago, it was treated like sacrilegious. And there's something funny about the fact that you could say a word or make a joke and make people lose their minds and freak out. And it was like an international incident if you said the wrong thing. And I think that's what made it tempting, especially for a young person. You want to rebel. You want to be defiant. You want to be a little revolutionary or something. Now, as time has gone on, I think that's become a fad. Everybody does it. It's lost its power. And I think that, by the way, part of why we're getting less of it is because instead of getting the preachy lecture from the left saying that's not appropriate, people just roll their eyes. Now, when an edgy white person says the N-word, people roll their eyes and go, really? That joke again? People hear someone wears a Nazi costume, makes a Holocaust joke. People go, really? That joke again? It's not impressive. It's not funny anymore. We've seen it before. And ironically, that is what makes you get less of it, when you disempower those things by not giving them this over-the-top reaction, pretending like it's some great travesty.
Do you think the new counterculture is going to be woke again?
No, I think it's a synthesis.
A synthesis of post-edgelordism and wokeism?
Yes, because I think that wokeism had its excesses. Edgelording also has its excesses. And I think now we're finding a middle ground between saying the edgiest thing we can think of with no regard for anyone and saying everything is racist. You know, if you say something, you should lose your job. We're finding a middle ground where, you know, maybe it's tastefully offensive in small doses, less is more.
So it sounds like you believe in the survival of the American experiment.
Yeah, I really do. And listen, I don't think everything about wokeism was bad necessarily.
What's the best thing about wokeism?
I think that genuinely it has made people more respectful and empathetic. Because let's be honest, 20 years ago, let's say when I was growing up, I think there was a lot of cruelty. And I think there were some hateful attitudes. And I think as time has gone on, this younger generation, they may not be even left-wing. They may not be what you consider woke, but I think they are respectful of people that have different ideas or, you know, different way of life or from a different culture. You know, we make jokes all the time about the fact that I'm like a far-right guy and I'm Mexican. People say I'm a white supremacist, I'm Mexican. And people make a joke that a lot of far-right people are Hispanic. And I think that's a consequence that there's very little genuine racial hatred in anybody's DNA anymore, or any kind of hatred. And I think that's positive, but that went too far. I think some of the other stuff went too far as well.
You know, one of these strange things about sitting in a room with these two is that they agree on almost nothing, but they've both lived the same life. Hunter had a laptop turned into a decade of strangers picking through his texts, his private photos, his voice memos, and even his bank record, whereas Nick has been doxxed, swatted, had his DMs leaked probably more times than he can count, and more shenanigans. Different politics, but kind of same experience. Somebody somewhere decided that their personal information was public property, so they exhumed it and sent it off to the world. But here's the thing that most people don't know. A huge amount of that information actually isn't stolen. It's for sale. Legally. Currently, there are over 420 companies called data brokers whose entire business is collecting your home address, your phone number, your relatives, your previous addresses, your income bracket, and selling access to anybody who pays. Last October, one of these vendors got breached and 70,000 people had their government IDs exposed in one day. That's what this ecosystem looks like when it fails, and it fails constantly. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I'm not Hunter Biden, Andrew Callahan, or Nick Fuentes. Nobody's coming after me. And honestly, I get that. But here's what actually happens when your info is sitting in these databases. Every spam call you get, every spam text about a package you didn't order, every weird email from a bank that you don't use, that's the data broker economy. It's why scammers know your name before they call. This issue is affecting so many Americans. The FBI just said that Americans lost $21 billion to online fraud last year, and Americans over 60 lost $7.7 billion of that. And the fastest growing category of scam types relates to AI voice calls. It's a scam where somebody calls your mom pretending to be you in your voice from a number that looks like yours. But guess what? That scam doesn't work if the scammer doesn't already know your name, your mom's name, and her phone number. And guess where they got that stuff? All three. Data brokers. There's also the issue of who can find your address. Any ex, any estranged family member, anybody from a situationship you left years ago who went crazy, $20 on a people search site, and they know where you live right now. Most people don't think about that until it matters, and by then it's too late. That's where incognito comes in. You just sign up, and they take it from there. They contact data brokers directly, demand that your info be removed, and send fresh sweeps every 60 to 90 days so nothing quietly gets added back. They've processed over 245 million removal requests to date, and unlike most other competitors in this industry, they had Deloitte, they had Deloitte, they had Meliotti, one of the big four auditing firms, independently verify how many brokers they cover.
Every time you rip a slab, instant offer for your card based on its market value.
Yes, from high school.
Should you do a little bit?
Okay, I don't speak it from my dad, so.
Did you grow up like around a lot of Mexicans?
No, all white people for the most part.
Did they know you were Mexican?
They did. And I'm not going to lie, I mean, people made fun of me for that.
What'd they say?
Well, like, for example, one time when I was in Model UN, I was entering high school as a freshman. They looked at my name on the roster without knowing me, and they told me this after the fact, the leadership of the club. They said, oh, we thought you were just some Mexican kid, so we gave you a bad committee assignment.
Wow.
But see, I heard that and I laughed. I said, that's funny. You know, there's a lot of people that say, oh, that's traumatic. I'm a victim of racism. You know, I think that's, you know, it's just a human thing.
Yeah, I always felt like growing up as like a white kid in America.
What if you weren't, what if you were and identified as being Mexican and they came to you and they didn't tell you that's the reason that they gave you all the bad committee assignments.
That would be unfair.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm just saying.
It's the whole point, isn't it?
And
so
I'm
you
not,
may find it funny because you pass as a white Anglo-Christian.
You think I pass?
What?
This is hilarious, dude. I'm so blown,
I not only think you pass, I think you identify as a, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, but really, for real. My point is that I heard you do an interview, okay? And I literally on the write up here, it's like you were talking about how you were raised on like Mark Levin in high school.
Oh,
and the
God.
thing that you liked the most
Jesus,
about Mark
God,
Levin
fuck
is
that
how
guy.
cruel he was to the callers. I don't get that. Like the joke about the cookies. It may be a joke and it may be edgelording and you may not really mean it, but you got to realize the cruelty to it. And without going like, oh, like, wham, like, people got to stop crying about the past. And that's the thing, is that I think that you have such an opportunity to talk to a generation of disaffected, angry, legitimately angry people in a way in which is positive without having to do that shit. And by the way, and I'm not holding you responsible for the end of my conception of Western civilization, which is different than yours. But I just don't get it. I don't get why you find the cruelty. And I think that, by the way, that's why you like Trump. I mean, I'm making, like a very unfair leap because his first instinct is cruelty. His first instinct is to find the fault in the other about everything, by the way. It's not his fault that we're in a war with Iran that he's ended 38 times and started 39. It's not his fault that inflation's high. It's not his fault that the wall didn't get built. It's not his fault that ICE is killing people on the streets in these places. It's the cruelty of it. Maybe it's a generational thing. I got friends who are Jewish that are going to be really, really fucking pissed off that I'm sitting next to you. And what do I tell them? What do I tell them why it's okay for me to sit and have this conversation with you?
I guess I just have such a different opinion of that. Why should we have to explain ourselves to talk to anybody? And why is it that saying the wrong words or making a particular joke makes it so the Jewish person wouldn't want to watch my show? I have a lot of Jewish fans. I mean, some of my best friends are Jewish. I've had Jewish employees, and they recognize that, just because I'm not necessarily nice all the time doesn't mean I'm hateful, doesn't mean, I don't even think they see it as cruel. I think they see it as it's a little rough around the edges. And maybe that's the difference, is I guess it's just attributing this weight to something that be considered a joke and maybe doesn't have a cruel intention behind it. Like, Mark Levin, you got to remember at the end of the day, it's an entertainment show. It's entertainment. People call in, he gets frustrated with them. It's part of what I do on my show. And it's not always nice, but it's funny, and I don't think it's mean-spirited necessarily, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. So, I mean, the thought that I would, like, for example, with you, people would say, why do you talk to Hunter Biden? His father and his DOJ froze your money and put you on a no-fly list. I'd say, so what? I mean, it's just talking. I don't think talking's a big deal,
Froze my money and put me on a no-fly list, too.
There you go. See, so we got that in common.
So a different question that I have that kind of weaves everything together. How do you think, like, October 7th and the subsequent, like, pro-Palestine movement and the online world it created led to a growing audience on the right?
October 7th in particular? Yeah. Well, I think it highlighted and brought to the forefront how captured the right wing is by Israel, which is very unique. I think the Democrats and the Republicans are pro-Israel, but the Republican Party has this inextricable institutional connection with the Israel lobby, with this Likud government in particular. And I think people just started to see the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy was brought to the forefront, which is America first, but not with Israel. No new wars except for with Iran.
Under Trump, we will have no more wars. No more wars. No more wars. They said he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
Oh my God, that was such bullshit.
We're going to be racist and all these things, but don't you dare be anti-Semitic. Don't even, think about it.
I see good things about Hitler also. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
So I think that on the right wing, it made it unignorable that there's this ideological institutional capture.
I just feel like a lot of straightforward, like just anti-Semite influencers were taking advantage of the post-October 7th discourse to push other ideas, broader ideas about Jewish people as a whole.
Come out and say it. Like, I think that Jews are causing a disproportionate amount of problems in the United States.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to ignore some of those other conversations. I know that it's now become maybe in vogue to say that the Israel issue is very narrow. It's just Netanyahu. It's just the Likudniks. It's just the Israel lobby. But, what would you say about someone like Larry Ellison? I mean, somebody like that, I don't think fits neatly into this, let's say, problem of Netanyahu.
As far as installing Barry Weiss and whatnot.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because this is somebody who's not Israeli. He's not even a religious Jew, but he's ethnically Jewish and has this deep affinity for the state of Israel.
I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people.
And is using and mobilizing his power and resources and connections to benefit Israel in the private sector. And so if you were to say, what's a law that we could pass to prevent that kind of influence, what would it look like? He's an American citizen. He can't buy a media company and hire Barry Weiss to run CBS News. And yet we recognize that's a big problem.
I just feel the conflation of anti-Zionism and Holocaust denial played into the hands of the Israeli propaganda apparatus. Because then they can say, hey, look, these people that oppose what we're doing in Palestine also don't think the Holocaust happened. It's a big jump in the public perception.
It was almost to me as if that was your intent, to lose any legitimacy about any argument as it relates to Israel and the Likud government. It is to say those edgelording things or whatever.
Jews are money changers. Bullshit artists, psychopaths, charlatans, grifters, manipulators.
I don't know anybody that can hear you after you say that, including myself. It delegitimizes everything, because I don't think that you a little bit more compassion.
Let's try to stay a little. I don't want to do any character attacks on Nick.
I'm not attacking his character. I'm not attacking him. I promise you, I'm
no,
not.
But as far as compassion, I'm more just being straightforward. Do you feel like the rise in anti-Semitic online influencers post October 7th has given Israel more ammunition to work with in terms of casting everyone who opposes what they're doing is just like a rabid Jew?
In some cases, sure. But I also think that's overstated, because I think that, look, let's just be honest. I do believe the political left wants to make the Israel issue very narrow. And they want to say that the issue is this genocide in Palestine. And on some level, they think that the Israeli government is racist. Baying pig. Bloodthirsty, violent pig dog. And that's the problem. And I think that ignores that there is a broader conversation. And it does have to do with the Holocaust. And it does have to do with Jews as such and Jewish nationalism and Jewish identity. So to try to shoehorn it in and say, well, if anybody goes further than this very narrow critique of Israel, well, they're actually helping Israel, I don't agree with that. I think we have to unpack the whole conversation.
Well, do you care a lot about Palestinians?
Not more than I care about anybody else.
So I guess that would be why that they would be like, okay, you're just taking advantage of this discourse.
I don't think it's taking advantage. I think that we can sympathize with the Palestinians while also realizing that, look, I'm an American. And so it's a tragedy what's happening in Palestine, but there's tragedies happening all over the world. My problem is that Israel has this influence over our government.
I'm a newcomer to politics, but not to backing the Jewish state.
And we're paying for the genocide, and we're furnishing them with the weapons to commit the genocide. And by the way, America is going to be held liable for this genocide, morally, but also politically and diplomatically and otherwise. But I think that people on the left, they may be guilty of maybe caring more about Palestine than they do about America.
Nick, but the left didn't cancel you. The right canceled you first. The right canceled you first, and Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, and those are the people that canceled. They may have utilized the tools of the left, or what you call the left, to be able to do that, but it was the right that canceled you. And by the way, what I would consider a radical right. The Daily Wire, to me, is a radical right.
I don't think they're even reactionary. I don't think they're that conservative at all.
You're fucking no. I disagree. I disagree with Blind. Ben Shapiro is not a rag, right? He's in partnership with the Norris family. Raising Cane's is celebrating National Chicken Finger Day. Kane is always.
Ben Shapiro, he's not like he's in favor of mass migration.
In 2016, they were alt-right.
No, they were not.
Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire they were to the right of Mitt Romney.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. And that's
they
what
weren't
I'm
Mormon
saying.
conservatives.
Yeah. My point was that's who you were canceling.
I was also canceled by the left.
No, I know. They came along. They came along because some of the more egregious things that you said as edgelording, they came along And whether you call it canceling or saying like, what the fuck? This is what I call it. What the fuck? Like, you know, like, what the fuck? You know, and so, like, I don't find it funny. And just like you're able to say, well, I just think it's funny, I'm able to say, I don't find it fucking funny. I didn't find it funny then. I don't find it funny now. I didn't find it funny, but some of the things that, you know, you said about me. But I'm willing to sit here and listen to you because I want to get to this. And this is my whole point. What about fucking Donald Trump?
Yeah, we can get to that. Yeah.
How did you get, of all the people in the world, but you could look at and say he doesn't believe anything.
So for context for the viewer, Donald Trump is currently the sitting president of the U.S. For our audience abroad, the war with Iran was supposed to be over. Now we're back in business, baby. Khomeini had a pretty sick funeral. So you guys don't like Trump. You used to like him.
I did.
You've always hated him. He's tried to destroy your life.
Yeah.
You guys were cool. You guys hung out once at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye. You've never hung out with Trump. Right? Would you want to?
No. No, do I want to? Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Look, man, I would like. Can we get him? Can we get him in the hotel room?
So I want you to imagine.
Let's get him in the
I want you to
hotel.
imagine he's in the motel with us.
Yeah.
That's Trump. What do you want to? How about what do you want to ask him?
You know, put me on the spot. I don't want to ask Donald Trump anything because I know, and I think you would agree with me, is that Donald Trump isn't going to give me an authentic answer. Donald Trump never gives an authentic answer. He gives what people refer to as being authentic, but it's not authentic, it's audacious. It's like the example that I give that is the best metaphor for this is that he says he's 6'3", weighs 225 pounds. And everybody laughs because that's a little bit like edgelording, right? Everybody knows that he is maybe 6 feet and weighs maybe 300. 285?
He's a big guy. He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, big guy. But by virtue of every picture ever taken of anyone that's 6'3", he's not 6'3".
I am.
Okay? Yeah, I know you are.
I'm 6'4".
Maybe. That's fine.
I'm
Maybe.
6'4".
But my point is that the reason I don't have a question for him is because I'm absolutely certain that he's not going to give me an authentic answer. Look, he came into the Oval Office in the transition this time. And he told my dad that he thought that he did an amazing job. He did an amazing job with the economy. He did an amazing job that with NATO. He did an amazing job and that he got a raw deal from his side and anything we could do, particularly for Hunter. Hunter got screwed. Whatever I can do, you let me know. Bullshit. He then went out and he has now since then done nothing but blame Joe Biden for every single one of his problems.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess. Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble. It's a horrible economy. I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy and the bad parts are the Biden economy.
He mentioned my dad's name or my family's name 6 times a day in the first 100 days of this administration. 6 times a day. He does it maybe 4 times a day now because he has no answers. All he has is a finger to point, and that's all he does. My point is, I don't know what to ask him. You know, why are you such a dick?
What does your dad think about the war?
Right? What I don't, I'm not going to get into what my dad thinks about the war. Is it really because I don't want to get into. I don't put words in my dad's mouth, just like I wouldn't ask you what your dad thinks about the war. But that wasn't the president of the United States, which is a little bit different. But, you know, all I can say is this: is that every single Israeli prime minister since at least Jimmy Carter was president, has walked into the Oval Office or picked up the phone and called the president and said, we have to attack Iran. And every single one of them has said no. And they may not all have had the same exact reason, but one of the reasons they did is because they knew what the consequences would be as it relates to the lifeblood of the economy. It's petroleum the Straits of Hormuz. Every single one of them knew that. And every single one of them knew that there is no way, unless you send in ground forces, to end with certainty the nuclear program that the Iranians have supposedly been building. Every single one of them knew that the existing Ayatollah at that time, had put out a fatwa, an edict saying that they would never turn their nuclear technology into a bomb.
The supreme leader of Iran issued fatwa. Having nuclear weapons is forbidden, it's haram, which means never we can have nuclear weapons.
It was a religious edict as strong as if the Pope had released an encyclical. But what did he do? He kills the Ayatollah. We get a son that now has a far more radical and far greater ties to the IRGC. And what do we have? The Space Hormuz are still closed. He said that they're brilliant people. I find that that's Donald Trump on everything. He said he'd end the war in Ukraine on day one.
That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president.
Yeah, hasn't done that. I hate wars, and I started another one. You're right. I don't know if I'm doing it already.
And I didn't hear anybody on the right and say, that's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. He said he would build a wall. I don't believe in building a wall. But everybody said that's bullshit. And then when he got into office, the corruption, the level of the corruption. I mean, people believed, were led to believe that there was this thing called the Biden crime family, right? I know that you know is that I didn't do a single piece of business when my dad was president. I made basically $200,000 a year selling paintings. I picked the thing that was the furthest possible thing away from politics that I possibly could. Don and Eric have done over $1.3 billion in contracts, just in contracts for underlying companies that they have an ownership stake in with the Department of Defense. Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense of a company that he bought into like 3 months before they got the loan. Because Peter Navarro picked up the phone and called DAD to get a phone. My point is, I don't have anything productive to say to him that I know of. And when I listen to you and I listen to what you do, my question is how did you not see that before? He was a disaster in 2020, a complete and utter disaster as it related to what he did with COVID. Regardless of whether you think we're wearing a mask or not.
The question for Nick is, how did you not realize 6 years ago that Trump would be this sort of letdown?
Because he doesn't hold, there's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you. Well, you got to realize in 2016 where Republicans were at. We had John McCain, we had Mitt Romney, and the perception on the right is that they were insufficiently conservative and that they were losers. All they do is lose because they don't fight. There was this perception that the Democrats are ruthless, fighters. Obama crushed in 2008, crushed when we thought he really should have lost in 2012. That was a Republican perception that Romney let us down. And so when Trump came on the scene in 2016, it was new, it was refreshing. He seemed like somebody that was really going to take on not just the Democrats, but also the media on our behalf. And what's more, you got to think about the mood of the moment in 16 as well and the message Trump was giving. Trump said in 16, it's just me and my son and my wife. We don't have any donors. We don't have any special interests.
More than $100 million of my money, meaning I'm not taking all of this big money from all of these different corporations like she's doing.
We're going to put America first, make the country great again. This is a very appealing message. And I talk all the time on my show about it and realizing now that it was obviously a scam and now obviously unfulfilled completely. And you're right, Trump is non-ideological. The message was brilliant because it said, one, the system is broken. America's not great anymore, but it used to be. We can make it great again, but in order to do it, we need to actually bypass the system. Why is it that we never have victories? Why is it that things don't change? Because of money. He said, and that's why I'm different. I'm rich. I'm a billionaire. If I self-fund my campaign and don't take super PAC money, then I won't have to listen to the lobbyists and the special interests. I could fire the people I need to fire, do the things I need to do. That was like a very powerful message in 2016. And after 4 years, I was one of the people even back then that said, look, it never materialized. He did wind up taking super PAC money. He took AIPAC money for that matter, Sheldon Adelson money at that time in 16. Even in the first term, bombed Iran. In the first term, didn't build the wall. In the first term, didn't even reduce illegal immigration until 2019. And I remember the timeline perfectly because I covered it every day. It was like in May and June 2019, 20-year illegal immigration high in terms of month over month. But why did I go for him in 2020? At the height of the pandemic, we all thought on the right that if anyone other than Trump was president, you were going to get a vaccine mandate, which we really didn't want to be forced to take the vaccine. We thought the lockdown might never end. We thought that censorship would kick into overdrive. And so we said, really, it's unacceptable that anyone other than Trump would just be a disaster. And then obviously Biden came in, and I don't think it was as bad as we thought it would be, to tell you the truth, honestly. But by 2024, I mean, I was out in 2024 because everything you're saying is totally true. And I was telling people on my side, I was saying he's not going to build the wall. And I know you're against that. He's not going to do the mass deportations, promising that. He's not going to start no new wars. I said in 24, he's going to take us to war in Iran. And the Ukraine war, I said, that's not going to end in one day. Too complicated. We're already in it. And so I didn't vote. I didn't vote in 2024. And I told my followers not to vote for Trump for that reason. And it was only until a year later, after all the exuberance died down and people saw the burying of the Epstein files, the war in Iran, people said, you know what? You were right. You were right about Trump. Even Alex Jones told me, you were right about Trump. I was all in on him. So, I mean, as far as him being vaporware is concerned and a scammer, and fundamentally, you're 100% right, no ideological core. He's not an ideological guy. Yeah, it is. He's
literally all about him.
And I agree, he's a cruel.
This woman in Kansas
Yeah,
City
if I
searched
could
her
do all
name and
over
found
again, I would not
$6.1 million in unclaimed money.
What? Narcissist? And you said I like the cruelty. I do not like the cruelty.
No, by the way, no. I didn't say you like the cruelty. I said I'm listening to your thing, and you said one of the things that you liked about Levin was the cruelty. And not for the cruelty's sake, it didn't seem to me like this, is because it was raw. It was, yeah. And that's it. So I'm not saying that.
No, but I agree. I think he is cruel. And even what he said on Easter, I mean, we're Catholic. On Easter Sunday, he says we're going to annihilate Iran, and then he made fun of Allah on Easter Sunday. So, you know, that kind of stuff, it just totally turned me off entirely.
Is there anything that you think Trump can do to like regain the support of the, I guess, Gen Z and millennial right?
No, it's over. People see what he's made of. And Hunter's right. He's a liar. He is a liar. He is a bullshit artist. And especially, you look at what he did with the Epstein files, with the war in Iran, what he did to Thomas Massey.
Guy named Thomas Massey.
Yeah, he's fucking
wrong with them. They just vote no. They love voting no. They think
the way that Trump and MAGA and Fox News treat Thomas Massey was disgusting. They fucking just, you know, they basically got a fucking real-time fucking came to basically buy Massey seeds. And Trump played Marcus to season wife and said there's like this making fun of his current wife that he's being married to a loser. It's so fucking bad. It's fucking bad.
I think it's good politically.
You realize that if you are America first, you have no place in this Republican Party, because he said it. He said our Republican Party, or rather, he said MAGA is Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Randy Fine. He said, and who is not MAGA? Megyn Kelly, Tucker, Alex Jones, Candace. And I think most Republicans said, well, we're with those other people. We're not MAGA anymore. So
what do you think happens, Nick? I believe that we need radical change. And I'm not talking about violence or revolution or things like that. I'm talking about the only ways that you can have this kind of radical rethinking of the system. Like, there's so many questions. Like, what do you think about the Epstein files? What do you think about the accountability? Do you think that he's broken the system to the degree that we now are basically in a dictatorship light?
No, I have a lot of confidence only because I think the Democrats are going to take the House in 26, which I support. I'm telling my people, vote Democrat. We want the Democrats in the House, because what they're going to do is they're going to use the oversight powers to bring all the corruption to light. Because I know Republicans will watch this, and when you say, you know, we didn't commit crime, they're going to be skeptical. However, for the sake of argument, let's say the income you made during Biden was ill-gotten. For the sake of example, it's just doesn't hold a candle. It doesn't even come close, doesn't even touch Jared Kushner, Howard Lutnick, Steve Witkoff, Don Jr., Trump himself. It's just a different sport. It's a different game entirely. And I want all that corruption to be revealed. And I think the Democrats are going to do it. I hope they get impeached. I don't think they'll be removed from office, but I think it'll basically drag this administration to a halt. And then 28, I think there's an opportunity for a clean reset with both sides, right and left.
Hey guys, quick thing before we get back to Hunter. So these two guys,
Trump has been such a fucking disaster. You know, it's just, like I said, if I could do it again, I don't vote for him. I just wouldn't vote at all. He's just all the stuff he's saying, like in 2016, I don't take any donors and all that stuff. I criminal money. It was such bullshit. He legit just scammed the fucking everybody. You know, he got basically bought by fucking, you know, basically by sign this, deep safe fucks, neocons, basically just capturing their kids, man. So I hope that the Democrats do investigations to this fucking administration. We cannot allow what this administration keep doing, and we cannot allow the next administration to get away with the same shit as this one to get away with.
Grounding. All right, back to Hunter and Nick. Whenever you talk about Trump, sometimes you explain this like nightmare scenario that revolves around the Vance presidency.
Yes.
What about JD Vance being in power scares you so much?
If Trump doesn't have an ideological core, then Vance really doesn't. Because Vance is a chameleon. That's not his real name for openers. Never had a real job. These are all sinecures given to him by Peter Thiel. 6 years ago, he's a never Trumper.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
I think that he's leading people in a very dark direction, and that's ultimately what worries me the most.
Terrible candidate. Idiot if you voted for him. Might be America's Hitler.
I was wrong about Donald Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a good president, Brett. He was a great president.
Now he's a national conservative, national populist, and so we don't even really know who he is. I mean, to me, this is basically a Manchurian candidate. This is a shell, and who is the power behind him? It's the oligarchs. It's the little tech oligarchs in bed with the CIA, especially at this fever pitch with AI. I think that's really dangerous. So to me, him being president is just the worst scenario in my mind.
For the uninformed viewer, what is the Palantir JD Vance connection?
Well, Palantir was founded by Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel is very close with David Sachs. JD Vance was given his first job in Silicon Valley by Thiel. Thiel hooked him up with it. The CEO of that company said it was a personal favor to Thiel that I hired him. And then Thiel got him all his jobs at these various venture capital firms, including his own, and then funding JD Vance's venture capital firm. Peter Thiel gave $15 million to Vance when he ran for Senate in Ohio in 22. Peter Thiel secured President Trump's endorsement for him in 22, which basically got him the nomination and the seat. So, I mean, as far as anybody's concerned, Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, who derives his fortune from Palantir.
Home. It's more than a place.
Yeah, it's just something about JD Vance.
It's where you're seen, where you're supported.
It's not like that. It's not like that. It's been a deep pocket of tech people. It's just
And now he's a Catholic like you and me.
Well, he's a convert, so
Beware the convert.
So do you think that Trump's unfulfillment of his campaign promises was a result of him being like compromised by somebody connected to that structure, or do you think he always just never cared?
I don't know that he never cared. I just think that, me, I'm an idealist. So I think about the ideas and the concepts. Trump is a businessman. And so I think with him, everything's transactional. And I said this in 2024. Trump knew the voters would swallow anything. The voters would not walk away from the table because they were enamored with him.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
So he knew he could break every promise with them in order to fulfill promises for the donor class, which is little tech, the Israel lobby, and Wall Street, the bankers, Tim Mellon, the big asset managers. So I think with him, everything's business, everything's a transaction. And that's why you can't trust him. You have to do business. And in 24, I said we should all collectively say we're not going to vote unless he makes certain commitments. And not enough people did that. But I mean, that's fundamentally his flaw.
Your critique of this like elite power structure sounds like vaguely anti-capitalist.
It's not anti-capitalist. Capitalism says the capital, large amounts of capital will be held in private hands, which I believe in. I am a capitalist. But I think what is happening is that it's the way that money is used in government. There needs to be a distinct and separate national power that subordinates the money power to it. The problem is the billionaires buy all the elections, buy all the media, control public perception, and so really we're all subsidiary then to the market. So I support capitalism, but it just has to be underneath the nation, underneath the state.
It seems like you have a pretty optimistic perspective on the year 2028?
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be
I
president
fucking hate
28.
it. He's
And
an
keep
idiot.
coming back to this
See,
like clean
things
election year. Do you think that's going to be like a renaissance year for outsider candidates and outside media channels like this one?
It can be. I think it certainly can be, because I think there's frustration on the right and on the left. You know, you see even in the primaries on the Democrat side, it's all DSA progressive types that are winning. You ironically have the same frustration on the left with their establishment as we have on the right. And so I think, you know, in 2028, it's going to be a year where there'll be a competitive Republican primary and Democratic primary, and hopefully the people make their voice heard, and we get some new options, you know, maybe that reflect the will of the people more.
Yeah. And so, what do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. I don't like some of the things that he said, like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person in the room and says, you know, the founding fathers would look down on us, the working people with their dirt-streaked hands against the billionaires. I think it's a little too divisive. I like his energy. I like that he's young. It's ironic. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's rich, buddy. But no,
but it seems pointed at me.
I know, but yeah, but the thing,
he was dissing you in that video.
Yeah, a little bit.
Staring down the camera like, you Nick, you son of a bitch.
People like me.
Yeah, but what I see is somebody is using government for exactly the purpose that you just said, is to break the oligopoly, to target the anger towards a tiny percentage of the population that has controlled the levers of government, from the White House down to the mayor's office in New York City or Peoria, Illinois, for that matter, and even more so as you go further down that chain. And so I look at somebody like Mamdani, and regardless of his delivery, which may be off-putting, particularly from somebody coming from your side, is that he's delivering, man. You know what? I mean, he's really delivering. You know, like I saw somebody going after Mamdani for some of this stuff, and particularly about rent control. You know, it was like, how do you think that the middle class was built after World War II and the GI Bill and rent controlled buildings that created those communities that we were talking about an hour ago?
The GI Bill provides returning soldiers and veterans a range of benefits, including to purchase homes, loans, to go to school, and this really was instrumental in creating the new American middle class.
Created the availability for somebody that was 26 years old, that had a job with the MTA, to be able to live and work in the city and in the school with the idea that they would be safe walking there and go to a park that, you know, where the water fountains were. That's what I see him trying to do. I mean, by the way, he's just so tired, and, you know, he's a communist. Like, it's about the communists. Like, who even says that anymore? Nobody, you know what? He's 1981, and, you know, we're watching Rocky V and worried about the communists. You know what I mean? I don't get it.
I and many of you see promise. I see a real
Rocky
opportunity
IV. My whole Philly legitimacy was just blown right there. You know, yeah. But it's just kind of, and so I look at somebody like Mamdani, I think, well, he's just talking about good government. Like, what do you think about healthcare? Don't you think that there should be a single-payer system? Don't you think that there should be some guarantee as a right? Because I don't know how you make it in this country and aspire to a middle-class life and be able to afford a catastrophic event as it relates to your health. I mean, it's over. You're done.
Yeah. I don't support single payer, but I do believe that everybody should be entitled to some minimum level of coverage, catastrophic insurance. So in principle, I agree.
Which is Medicare for all to a certain degree, right? I mean, because that's all the Medicare does right now. But why is that radical?
It's, you know, middle class and get taxed more. You know, that's why.
See, I don't think that's necessarily radical, but
to them, it's it's a because we've been convinced that it's a
to them,
yeah.
those others.
Yeah, no, them. I mean the insurance companies.
Sure.
And their lobbyists who control 55% of Congress, regardless of who's in power.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think that's necessarily the most radical. I think, though, he is with the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. He backs all these DSA candidates. And let's be honest, a lot of them are radical. Like I saw one of these candidates that just won in New York a couple weeks ago, the Chevalier candidate. Here's a picture.
She hates my dad.
Yeah, I know.
She said about my dad.
She had awful things about him.
Yeah.
And she says, I didn't have a napkin to wipe my hands, so I used the American flag.
Yeah,
that's
I think it's crazy. But like the same way that, I thought a lot of the stuff that some people that got elected in 2016, 2020, even during the Tea Party, the movement was, egregious. Again, egregious.
If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
So what do we do? What do we do, Nick?
I think a better question is,
for real, what do we do? Can you at least come a little bit to this way?
If you can come a little this way.
I can. Here's where I can come, is this. Do you get what I'm saying about the Holocaust thing?
About that.
No, I mean, really.
I do. And listen, here's what I'll say. Now that I'm older, I do think that's not the best approach. So I agree with you on that. And I see it as I get older, because let's be honest, saying those things when I'm a younger guy, when I'm 18, 20, it's like, you got to think that's just the age.
Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
And a lot of young people think that's funny and everything like that. I think that it also goes with the medium as well. Live streaming, social media, that's just what it rewards. So yeah, I think that people should try to move past some of that.
I'll try. But if you try.
Okay, well, so all right, chat. We're gonna talk about next guest.
Absolutely. Real. And as it relates to when you talk about Israel, the Netanyahu, Likud government, what's happening now, what's happened for the past 20 years in terms of whether the funding is or whether you think it is. It's really important that you make a distinction between that and Jews. Because here's the thing, okay? Zoran Mamdani has a higher favorability rating in the United States among Jews than Bibi Netanyahu does. I think 65% of American Jews disagree with the approach that the Israeli government has right now. They don't disagree with you, but they completely turn off when they hear the conflation of Jews, Zionism, Israel, and think automatically anti-Semitism, whether it's fair or not, okay? But you have to understand it. You have to understand it from a cultural perspective in which the recent history is only one data point in 2,000 years of history as it relates to what it means to be a Jew, of which there is what, 1%, 0.5% of the entire world's population? Because I don't know what it adds to your argument. Or what it adds to your argument about Miriam Adelson being able to give $300 million to Donald Trump and commit to giving another $300 million to get her way, and we end up in a war with Iran.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a valid point. I do think, though, that the issue is broader than just Netanyahu.
By the way, obviously Netanyahu has a base within Israel, within the Jewish community here in the United States, with Jared Kushner. You know what I mean? Jared Kushner, who is unelected, not a member of our government, is having has more control over the direction of the everyday lives of American people right now than anybody that I know of. And meanwhile, all he's doing is building a $6 billion private equity fund with the people he is negotiating for. And I always say, look who's paying him and wondering whose interest that he is advancing. He's getting paid by the Saudis, he's getting paid by the Emiratis, he's getting paid by the Qataris, he's getting paid, go down the list. And for some reason, he is in control, along with Steve Witkoff, who is also not elected by anybody, of deciding whether or not the Straits of Hormuz are going to open up and whether or not our gas prices are going to go down. It may not matter to the three of us necessarily, an extra $1.60 or 85 cents, but you know what? To 85% of the people that live in America, it means it's the difference between whether or not they're going to be able to pay rent, whether or not you're going to be able to actually put the gas in your car in Montana to to drive to your job on the, on the ranch.
Well, and here's what I'll say to you, and this is something kind of why I wanted to do this interview, is emphasize the message that as far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that it's the same standard that applies to everybody, which is as long as you're patriotic, as long as you believe Americans should be put first by their government, I have no problem at all. And I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights. It's just this acute problem of these people, like you mentioned, like Larry Ellison and Miriam Adelson and Jared Kushner, they're putting some other country before the interest of our own. And that in principle is what I have a problem with.
There is going to be some people who watch this and feel like, all right, no take backsies. And they might feel like you're just kind of trying to moderate, and that now that you've achieved your goal and got a lot of support, you're kind of moderating because your main aim has already been achieved, which is to sort of have a generational run and pop off. So now you're trying to kind of make your way more into the mainstream discourse, but you'll just go back again into the same sort of reactionary rhetoric once you're back in the number one.
Well, I don't even think I'm moderating. And I even told our mutual friend, it's not even a moderation. It's not even an apology. It's clarifying. Because, all along I've been saying this message. It's just that the way that I'm...
Hey, did you know you might get a big cash payout if you were in a car accident up to 1 year ago, even if you weren't driving? Just click the link around this video to see how much you can get. Just answer 5.
Saying it changes and evolves. But I also think how people respond to it changes as well. Because let's be honest, 10 years ago, there was a very different kind of conversation about Israel. You could not mention it in a negative or critical way without being utterly annihilated in politics. We all know that ever since October 7th, that's not the case anymore. So I think that there's sort of something reciprocal happening, which is that people are receiving me differently. And as someone that's growing older and more mature, I'm even representing myself differently. So I wouldn't even call it moderating, just clarifying. People are more receptive, and I'm maybe better able to articulate it.
And you think that's because you've kind of gotten older and been able to have like a longer career in media to reflect on different changes in your perhaps brain chemistry and lifestyle?
That's a huge thing. I mean, I know it's 27. I have a very different mentality than I did when I was 20.
What's the main difference?
Just more even keeled. I think you know too, it's like when you're 20, you're just like a maniac. And then you hit 25 and you're like, all right.
I was a maniac when I was 49.
You're a fucking crank and late drink. That's all I do.
And I do believe that people can grow, they can change. And I'm not asking you to, and I'm not asking you to say things, but there are certain things that I just hope that you can hear without feeling attacked. That some of the things that you said, whether it's edgelording otherwise, are really hurtful. And then people completely turn off to the idea of being able to listen to you about anything, and then you get dug in more and you're like, go fuck yourself, like, you can't take a joke kind of thing. And that's not what it is. It's not just wokeism. It's not. It's people being really, really hurt by it. And I accept your apology for all of the mean things you said about me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on my apology tour. Is that the one thing you did say? You said I was a degenerate crackhead.
Me?
I have the problem with that. Not you.
Me?
Yeah. And
I also said you were cool, though.
Yeah, no, by the way, you said I was a degenerate crackhead. And you know what? I'm not even mad about that because I was a degenerate crackhead. I spent more time on my hands and knees smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine.
And now you're sober. And I find it interesting. You also said that you've never drank before.
Right. Yeah, I've never had a drink, never done drugs.
That's because you grew up, with me. You're like, don't be that guy.
I grew up with you too.
You're not as smart as he is. My brother never drank. My dad too.
I've never had alcohol.
I was going to ask you, Nick, what kind of prompted your choice to just be sober for life and never drink?
Never smoked.
Well, a big part of it is I had a lot of addiction in my family. My grandfather was an alcoholic, committed suicide. Uncle died from an overdose from crack cocaine. My mom, 2 of her uncles, heroin addicts for their entire lives, and it just devastated my family, devastated both of my parents, and so I know I have that addictive personality and probably have the genetics for it, and not only that, but I like being rational. I like having my sober mind. I think that's actually a sacred thing. To have unimpaired reason. So the thought of losing control and even being tempted to get into, worse things, I just thought it's just not worth the risk. So it's just never for me.
Well, how much, by the way, sorry, do we have time? how much do you think COVID warped not just your generation, but everybody? Because I have this theory that there was this thing that broke for us with COVID, and that nobody's really come to terms with how traumatic that was for everyone.
And especially for the younger generations. I think severely less for the older generations, but for the younger people, missing the graduations, missing critical years in school. That's when the socialization happens. That's when you learn to get along. And so you think about how this generation is going to grow up having 2 to 3 lost years. No sports, no school, no extracurriculars, vacations. It's devastating. And we already had a problem with that isolation, social dislocation, loneliness. I can't even imagine. So it's going to be devastating, I think. But that's a lockdown.
So maybe if you're watching this video after this, put your phone or computer away, go outside, make a friend, just do anything but scroll to the next video. Back in the day during Nickelodeon, they had Go Outside Day.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we need like one day a week where it's mandated in a tech oligarch sense that no one can go on their phone or use the computer.
Man, I would love that. I mean, that's one thing. Is one thing we could all agree on. The way I say it now is you're all carrying around a bag of heroin in your pocket. Everybody is, and it's probably even more dangerous in some ways.
Would either of you guys ever run for office?
Are you asking me for real?
Yeah.
No. I think that politics, the way that my dad engaged in it, and that I'm obviously incredibly biased, is an incredibly noble thing. But that's not where my head is in terms of what I want to do. I want to reach. My whole thing is that. Forget all of this. I want to reach 1 million people in addiction. I think one of the biggest things about addiction, and one of the reasons why it continues to be this,
Yes, this is a big box of abuse. If you're wondering why I needed so many paleo values is crazy right now.
I know it's a thing.
Epidemic is that we don't talk about it. Is that you don't even talk about it around your dinner table. And what you realize, if you're coming from my particular unique situation, is that everybody comes to me and they tell me their story. And sharing that is like, breaks that cycle of shame. And so I want to reach 1 million people in addiction.
How about you, Nick? Would you ever run for office?
I don't think so, no. Just because I don't think you can fully be authentic when you're running for office because it's a different role. And I think my role, they say, according to the Overton window idea.
Ideas that are inside the Overton window are ideas that are politically safe.
Whatever run for office.
They say that if you want to change people's opinions and what they consider acceptable, you kind of have to be the first to the punch and maybe considered a bad person or evil or whatever in order to promote your view. And so that just doesn't lend itself to that kind of politics. So I think to protect my own integrity and authenticity of the message, I have to not run for office.
See what we just did? We just made probably the entire audience happy. One half is glad I'm not running. The other half is really glad he's not running.
If not you guys, then is there any candidate or prospective candidate that you feel like could run in 2028 that would, have a fair shot that y'all support?
Nobody in particular for me. I haven't really been too impressed with who's come out of the Republican Party. So I'm hoping they'll just be somebody we haven't heard of, somebody maybe that hasn't been in office before.
He's voting for Gavin Newsom.
That's right. Yeah. Well, if it's Newsom advance, I'd certainly think about it.
Yeah.
How about you? Anybody that creates a twinkle in your eye?
No, I think that there are a lot of people. I mean, I know that you think that you're going to laugh at me, but I personally like Gavin Newsom a lot. I think that he's authentic in those beliefs, whether you agree with them or not. Thomas Massey's principal stand as it relates to the Epstein files was incredibly courageous.
Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island.
And that's why he's not going to be a congressman anymore. But that's why, he could potentially make a really strong national candidate.
And you guys think America will exist in a post-Epstein capture freeway?
Will America exist?
Yeah, will America survive the current power structure's stranglehold on the media, the political system, and all public affairs?
I don't know. I think AI is going to really be transformative. It's interesting. Nobody seems to be talking about that.
Transformative in what sense? Like for bad?
Concentration of power. That's the single biggest. And you know what? I'm actually on the liberal side on this with Anthropic over the, let's say, because there's this battle between these effective altruists, effective accelerationists, and I really am nervous about what's going to happen, especially in the next 4 years, because they're racing towards this artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence, and that, without a doubt, is going to be the single biggest influence on the country. And so I'm really worried about that.
And what about that concerns you? Is it surveillance?
It's the concentration of power in the hands of whoever controls it. Whichever firm is the one to develop ASI, that could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company. So whether that's Sam Altman or it's Dario, if the artificial intelligence is aligned with its creator, that person will become the most powerful person in the history of mankind on
It's
on
almost
that
an
day.
inherent truth, in my opinion, what you just said, is that the greatest leap in human evolution is going to happen within our lifetimes. AGI, let alone super intelligence, is everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes. And I don't think that that's in any way hyperbolic. If you listen to the people that are developing these technologies right now, they are the most alarmist.
I think AI will probably, most likely, sort of lead to the end of the world.
If you want to know what life's like when you're not the apex intelligence, ask a chicken.
And now, by the way, I think that there's an enormous possibility for incredibly beneficial things to society, like being able to cure cancer. I just think of this one thing. Everything that AI is built on is ours. Belongs to you, and you, and you, all the way back through the human civilization. That's what they're stealing from us, and they're putting it into the hands of literally a handful of people. All of that human knowledge and the value that comes from it. And I think that that's ours. So any AI that is developed, particularly that goes to HEE, it should be communal. It should be shared in the not just the beneficial offshoots of it, but the actual money of it should be shared.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's like nuclear bombs, but it's also a commodity at the same time. The weapons potential, the economic potential, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And I hope on some level that liberals win that argument, because what Trump is doing with the Pentagon, Anthropic, and OpenAI, the way they're handling it is so reckless and sloppy and just honestly unbelievable. So we need some adults in the room on that one.
Well, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you guys for coming. You guys have any final questions you want to ask to each other, or maybe a message you want to give to the American people?
I still believe in America, and I truly believe in these conversations. And I think everyone that's watching would think that I would not want to sit down with me. And this, I guess, what I'm getting at with you is that I hope you see the humanity in me, and so in the way that you talk in the future, takes that into consideration. And what I'll do is I'll see the humanity in you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a great conversation, and I think that we have to come together on the things that we agree on, which is, for example, that we love the country, we both believe in America, we both want the country to succeed, and I like what you said, that we see the fundamental humanity in each other. And I think that especially in the events of the last year, the killing of Charlie Kirk, realize that's actually not something that people on both sides share. I think there's people on the right and the left that don't see the humanity in the other side. And so maybe that's the new consensus, or that's where we can come together, is on the basis that, we disagree on fundamental issues, and even sometimes it gets heated and we yell at each other, but that we do ultimately want the best for each other. We love each other. We want the country to succeed. And I think that's a starting point for any solution and any conversation.
All right, American brothers. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks,
bro. Wow. That was a lot better than I expected to be, man. Bro, someone said they were gonna throw face. What a bunch of bullshit, dude. The only thing they really got a little bit heated on was about the black community, and about Jewish, Jews. But besides that, they were pretty cordial. To be honest with you, Hunter Biden is not.
It's so annoying. I said this earlier.
I don't know if Hunter Biden is being bullshit here. He's not a stupid guy. He's a smart guy. You can clearly see it. It's just who knows, if he didn't do any of the drugs or fuck around with hookers, pretend like he was playing GTA in real life, he knows he could have maybe a lot of potential in fucking politics, or could own his own business, but he's kind of doing that stuff. Hopefully, he's a change guy. He's he'd be more like a normal person. So And with like Nick, there's certain things I agree with like Nick on, but it's just hard to like defend the Hitler stuff. You know, stuff he said about like Hitler, about the Holocaust, and just Joseph Stalin. You know, it's just some of that shit. It's definitely hard to like fucking defend.
And you just wouldn't let that happen.
But it was good. I definitely enjoyed watching this, man. It was really good. It was really good. Yeah, I thought that this game, I really thought it was going to be heated, but it was not at all. So. Alright guys, I'm gonna hop off for the night, because it's 2 in the morning, don't want to go to bed at 1:30, I want to watch the entire video, so I will be back on Monday, talk more about the same stuff, obviously like on Monday, games wise, I don't know what I'm gonna play Monday on Twitch. I played Halo campaign last 2 days. I'm not gonna play Halo next week. I don't know what I'm gonna play, man. I'll kind of figure it out. Alright guys, I'm gonna hop off. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys on Monday. Alright boys, peace out.
That we care about.